Okay, we're gonna.
All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. The date is March 24th, 2025, and the time is 9 o'clock. So we're going to get started. Can we please have a roll call from our board members from the Southern office?
Board member Destry present.
Board member Moreno present. Board member Douglas present. Board member O'Brien present.
Board Member Wold, present.
Board Member Harris present.
Perfect. Thank you, welcome. Can we please have a roll call from our Southern office staff members?
Steve McDonald, Executive Director, present.
Jamie Huggins, Chief Compliance Officer, present. Lauren Bassett, Regulatory Compliance Specialist, present.
Thank you. And then from our Northern office,
Erin Litterer, Lead Service
staff
Specialist,
members
present.
from our Northern office, please, roll call.
Erin Litterer, Lead Service Specialist, present.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that. Can you please repeat?
Erin Litterer, Lead Service Specialist, present.
It'll be Aaron Litterer. Litterer.
And then we're going to go back down to our Southern office for roll call with staff members.
Good morning, Matthew Feely, Deputy Attorney General, representing the board.
Good morning, Deputy Attorney General Joseph Ostunio, also representing the board as prosecutor.
All right, welcome everyone. And the mission of the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology is to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of those that obtain cosmetology-related services through the delivery of quality testing, licensing, inspection, and education services that focus on consumer
I'm sorry.
protection.
Can you slow down, please?
Yep. You want me to repeat the whole thing?
No, go ahead. It's okay.
Okay, at this time, we're going to take comments from the general public for discussion only. The board will entertain comments from the general public for any item that is related to Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. Members of the public can call into the meeting to make public comments by dialing 1-720-707-2699 and entering 821-4652-7127 for the meeting ID. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and no discussion or action can be taken during public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? All right, then we are going to go to agenda item 3, which is approval of minutes from previous meeting for discussion and possible action. The board is to approve minutes from March 10th, 2025 board meeting. Can I get a motion for that, please?
This is Board Member Douglas. I'd like to approve the minutes for March 10th, 2025.
Board Member Lino, second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. All right, moving forward with agenda item number 4 with disciplinary hearings. We are going to skip down to item B, which is the public hearing on complaint number C2024-0884 for discussion and possible action. The board will conduct a disciplinary hearing regarding the allegations in the complaint filed on March 10th, 2024 against respondent Marilyn Spa, license number 709130, business ID number NB 2023-2876572, Ronald Carrera, owner and operator. Upon conclusion of the hearing, possible action includes the imposition of discipline.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. Thank you for doing this morning. I'm gonna skip. Well, first of all, I'm gonna ask, is Ronald Carrera online? Carrera, excuse me. Okay, at this time, I'm gonna move forward with a default. Therefore, the division mailed its complaint and notice of hearing on March 5th, 2025. Respondent declined to file an answer. Respondent declined to appear today. At this time, the state will proceed with the default pursuant to 644A. The division calls Chief Compliance Officer Jamie Huggins.
Here this time, I'd like to swear Sunday. Hi, Jamie. Hi. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, when it comes to perjury?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Huggins. Please state your name and current job position.
Janie Huggins, Huggins, and I'm the Chief Compliance Officer for the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology.
Do your job duties include filing complaints for the division?
That is correct.
Do your job duties include mailing the complaint and notice documents to respondents?
Yes.
Sign on to this service.
I'm sorry, can everyone online please make sure that they're muted? So we can have a clean record, thank you. In this case, did you file the complaint, notice of hearing, and notice of documents, including the division's exhibits?
Yes.
And did you send all these filed documents certified mail upon the respondent's last known addresses?
Yes.
Could you please state those addresses for the record?
I would have to pull up my notes, but I can tell you there is an address that was noticed on Candace Manor, which is the respondent's last known address provided to us on his driver's license. We also noticed the business address on Maryland Parkway, which was the actual last known address provided to us by the respondent. And we also noticed the respondent at an address on Blue Diamond, which was the last address known to us as provided by Legal Wings through a skip trace.
And you have proof of the mailings and the status of documents mailed via certified mail, correct?
Correct.
Can you please explain the status of the proof of mailings?
The status of the proof of mailings they were not successfully delivered to the Candace Manor address or to the business address, but they were successfully delivered to the respondent via the Blue Diamond address.
At this time, the division would move that the board admit its exhibits included in the complaint.
Say so moved. So moved.
That's true. The division now moves to admit the proof of mailings as Chief Compliance Officer Jamie Huggins testified to.
So moved.
The division requests the board move to find the state has proved sufficient service of notice to the respondent Maryland Spa, license number S709130, Ronald Corella, owner operator in this case.
So moved.
Take a vote on that. To accept that the state has approved, yes. Yes. You should be looking at it.
So we just have to make the motion.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, can I just do that? Okay, so I motion to accept allegations 1 through 41 presented as fact.
Sorry.
So, yes, those are
Yes.
those motions are presented in the complaint, and yes.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have any, comments or any questions regarding this, or are we ready for the motion? Want to vote on the motion? Okay, so I motion to accept allegations 1 through 41 presented as fact. Can we get a second? Board member Douglas, I second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then, we'll go back to you.
I just want to make a note for the record that we tried very hard to settle with Mr. Corella. We had a settlement agreement and he refused to sign it, even though he agreed through emails, and that's how we ended up here today. At this time, the division respectfully requests, as the complaint has already been filed and is part of the record, the board accept the factual allegations, violation, and the violations law contained therein as true. Given that the respondent has failed to appear and defend against the complaints, the division further requests that the board adopt the recommended punishment as outlined in the complaint. This includes the imposition of the maximum administrative penalties under 644A NRS and NAC for each violation. Revocation of the respondent's license for 10 years and the full recovery of investigative costs and attorney's fees. I turn it back to you, Madam Chair.
That's correct, yeah, yeah. They did already vote that the facts have been, presented and, but as far as violations go, we need to find that the violations did occur and then move on.
So just now they agreed that the proof of service was done. They have actually approved the facts under the settlement, but I think it should be a clean motion, like a motion. But I'll defer to you,
No.
counsel.
That sounds good.
This is
Yeah.
a pretty good.
Another motion that the facts have been proven,
Okay.
and then a separate motion that the violations have been found to have occurred.
Okay, so, board, do we have any questions or concerns on this? Or are we ready to make the motion that the, allegations,
Yeah, the facts have been
the
proven
facts have been
true,
proven as true?
and that the violations did occur, and those could be two separate motions.
Okay, so. True. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion that the facts are true. Can I get a second?
Board Member Moreno, second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. At this time, I would like to make a motion that the allegations occurred. Can I get a second?
Board Member Moreno, second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And then did you already discuss the discipline or you said as presented?
So yeah, the violations of law are included in the complaint. Did they vote on that just now?
Yeah, the violations.
Okay, so they have to do penalties. I believe the statute is 2,000 per violation, but I'm also gonna turn that over to the executive director to talk about other fines that might be imposed on top of that.
Steve McDonald for the record, Chair. Yes, we would request that the administrative fines be at $2,000. That section says up to 2,000, so count. We request that it be at 2,000 per count, and that they pay for the cost of the investigation and including attorney's fees. And then cost, of course, the revocation for up to 10 years. We want it at 10 years. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. When I make this motion, do I have to make each one motion or can I make it a blanket motion?
Blanket, yeah.
Okay.
Say everything that you just said.
Okay, sounds good, thank you. Or do we have any questions or comments?
No.
No, okay, I'd like to make a motion for Maryland spa license number S709130 to revoke the license for 10 years. As well as imposing administrative fines of 2,000 per count, with to be paid within 3 months. As well as a motion to impose the costs and fees that the board has incurred. So can I get a second?
Board Member Moreno, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Okay, all right, at this time, we're going to jump back up to agenda 4A, a public hearing on complaint number C2024-130 for discussion and possible action. The board will conduct a disciplinary hearing regarding the allegations in the complaint filed on February 19th, 2025 against Asian Massage license number S-709220, business ID number NV 202-329-96170. Gia, owner and operator. Upon conclusion of the hearing, possible action includes the imposition of discipline.
Good morning again, Madam Chair and board members. I'm gonna ask if Ugia or anybody from Asian Massage is on the line.
Yeah, I'm Vaughn Frost. I'm one of the owners.
I'm gonna turn this back over to Executive Director for a second.
Steve McDonald for the record. Mr. Vaughn?
Yeah,
Vaughn
Vaughn Frost. Yeah, Mr. Frost.
Yes, sir. We recall you appearing at our March 10th meeting, and we did not have you as an owner, and I have staff here to testify to that.
Yeah, I know, Yu was supposed to be here too. I think she's the listed owner. So is she online? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm online.
Okay. I believe you're asking that the owner speak, so that would be the one online, not me. The other.
Have him state his name for the record.
Yes, please state the name for the record. There she is. Ma'am, could you please state your name for the record?
阿明月 YUEJIA。
Okay.
She don't have his translator also.
So, just so you know, Madam Chair, what we're going to do is actually swear in not only the licensee here that's recognized as the licensee for the Nevada State Board and the translator, but we're also going to I'll have to swear in Ms. Huggins, our Chief Compliance Officer, during the service, as well as the actual complaint that Mr. Sonia will be questioning. So at this time, Ms. Gia, can you raise your right hand?
右手。
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, under penalty of perjury in this matter?
So yes.
Yes.
Okay. And your translator? Can we
Yes.
get your name? Can we get your name for the record, please?
Okay. Liang Hairao. First name is LIANGHAI, and my last name is RAO. The relationship for her is she's my mom.
Okay. Okay. Could you raise your hand, sir?
Which hand?
Right. I'm
Okay.
sorry, the right hand. You swear to translate directly what your mom says under penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Thank you. Dennis, Dr. do you need Tim to spell his name out again?
No, it's okay.
Okay. All right. And if you name Mr. Sneedy, would you like me to go ahead and just swear in? It's like, well, she's on her oath.
Yeah, she's on her.
Okay, so I'll turn this back over to Madam Chair.
At this time, may I proceed with opening statement? Good morning once again, Madam Chair, members of the board, and members of the public. The state appears before you today pursuant to NRS 233B and NRS 622A to present evidence that the respondent engaged in conduct that violates Nevada law and the standards governing licensed establishments. This case involves serious allegations of prostitution occurring at the licensed business, Asian Massage. The evidence will show that on November 5th, an illegal sexual solicitation occurred. Furthermore, the respondent failed to properly supervise the establishment and permitted unlicensed and unlawful conduct on the premises. The state will demonstrate that these actions constitute clear violations of Nevada statutes and regulations, and we will respectfully request that you take the appropriate disciplinary action to protect the public and uphold the standards of professional licensure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Everybody knows opening statement, I guess, they can save theirs for when it's their case achieved, but now you can turn it over to.
Oh, they get to make an opening statement?
I guess that's up to the board. You can allow them to make their opening statement now, or you can let them do it when they start their case.
Okay, let's have them make their opening statement when they talk about their case. Let's go forward, please.
Okay, at this time, I would like to call Officer Zachary Baldor. I think we have him on the phone. Officer Zachary excuse me. Officer Zachary Baldor, are you on the line?
Yes, at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute break. We will be back here at 9:25.
休息5分钟。
All right, and welcome back to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology meeting. The date is March 24th, 2025, and the time is 9:25.
Good morning. Is Officer Zachary on the line? Officer Zachary, if you're on, if you have a phone, *6 will unmute you. Stop it out. Right down at the bottom. We cannot hear you on that thing. Oh. Is it? There. Good morning, Officer Zachary, are you with us?
I am. This is Detective Baldorf. I'm present. Can you hear me?
We can, is that, no, you
A
can't.
little bit.
Can you, is there a way we can turn the volume?
Is that better?
It's going really slow for the stenographer.
Yeah, and especially with the officer, he's used to, yeah, so. Full respect, Mr. Officer.
Good morning. Can you, Officer Zachary, can you state and spell your name for the record?
Yes, it's Zachary Faldorf, Zachary Falldorf.
What is your rank and position within the Metro Police Department?
I'm a detective with the Special Investigative Section within Las Vegas Metro.
And could you describe your responsibilities in that position?
I do.
I'm sorry, I'll repeat the question. What are your responsibilities in that position?
So we deal with privileged and regulated businesses within Clark County and the city of Las Vegas. And one of those entails massage establishments. So we investigate massage establishments within Clark County and the city of Las Vegas.
Are you familiar with the investigation that was done on the Asian massage establishment?
I am.
Is overseeing that kind of investigation something you've done previously in your career?
I have.
About how many times?
I've done undercover operations in the massage parlors at least 30 times.
Can you turn to Exhibit 2? I believe I sent you a copy.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'll pull it up here. Sorry, give me 1 second. All right, I got Exhibit 2 up here.
So you're familiar with this document, correct?
I am.
Did you draft this report?
This is a request for action that was hang on, give me 1 second. Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the police report. Is that which one we're looking at here?
Yes.
Yes, I drafted that.
Does it appear to be a true and correct copy of the report you drafted for this investigation?
It does.
Madam Chair, at this time, I would move to admit Exhibit 2 in evidence.
So moved.
Officer Zachary, can you please walk us through your report in Exhibit 2 and what happened at Asian Massage?
Yeah, so on October 30th, we conducted an undercover operation into Asian Massage at 2605 South Decatur, number 213. I approached the business posing as a customer and was greeted once I entered the business by Erica Bai, who was an employee there, and asked for a 30-minute massage. I paid her $60 for the 30-minute massage. During the course of the massage, sex act was negotiated for $200 for a hand job.
Thank you. Madam Chair, at this time, I'll turn it over to the other.
Okay. Ms. Uchiha, do you want to take this time to make an opening statement and talk about? No, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
If she has any questions specific to this.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Do you have any questions specifically for, this witness?
Say no, sure, no.
No.
So for so Erica is
Manager.
manager here, and we are the like a investigator. So we don't know what's happening in the.
I'm gonna object. This is just the time for questioning of the officer. not-
Okay, okay. For the question though, I don't have any question.
No questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Officer Zachary. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna call Jamie Huggins back to the stand, and I will remind her that she is under oath. Ms. Huggins, can you please state your name and your role at Nevada State Board of Cosmetology? Once again, I'm sorry.
My name is Jane Huggins, Huggins, and I'm Chief Compliance Officer for the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology.
Now, Ms. Huggins, were you present at Asian Massage on November 5th, 2024?
No, I was not.
But you did supervise the people that did the inspection, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware that, or was Miss Ling Chao Wang present as the licensee in charge during your staff's visit?
No, she was not.
Upon further investigation, were you able to confirm whether Ling Chao Wang was employed by the respondent and overseeing the establishment?
I was able to confirm that she was not overseeing the establishment as our licensee in charge.
Thank you, Ms. Huggins. Madam Chair, I will turn it back over to the respondent for any questions.
Thank you. Ms. Uchiha, do you have any questions for Ms. Huggins?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. At this time, I will call the Executive Director, Stephen McDonald, to the stand. Do you have an oath or can you swear me?
And Billy Deputy Attorney General, counsel for the board. For the record, Executive Director, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth under penalty of perjury? Yes, I do. Thank you.
Mr. McDonald, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Can you please state your name and your role with the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology?
Sure. Stephen McDonald, that's with a B. NCDONALD, Executive Director of Nevada State Board of Cosmetology.
Mr. McDonald, the Cosmetology Board had a hearing on February 10th, correct?
Correct.
Were you present at that meeting?
Yes, I was.
And Mr. McDonald, did an individual show up on behalf of Asian Massage at that meeting?
Yes.
And what was his name?
His name is Mr. Vaughn Frost.
Were you or the board aware that Mr. Frost was an owner?
No.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. I turn it back over to the petitioner.
Thank you. Ms. Uchiha, do you have any questions for Executive Director Abasal?
No.
Okay, thank you so much.
That is my case, Madam Chair. I give it back to the respondent.
Okay, at this time, Executive Director McDonald, shut down, right?
Yes, sir. Madam Chair, I am excused.
You're excused. All right, at this time, Ms. Uchiha, you can walk us through your side of the case if you'd like to take the time to do so.
Pardon me, can you say that again?
And if we could ask, I know you're translating, if you could speak up and maybe speak into your microphone so we can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
yes,
the
yes.
voice quality is not that good. Like,
We're just having a little difficulty understanding you. If you can speak more closely to the microphone, that might help us.
hello, can you like hear better?
It's a little better. If you can speak louder too, that might assist.
Okay, like, is this okay? Like this voice?
Yeah, and just speak as slow as you can.
Oh, slow as I, oh, okay.
Yeah, that way we can have a record for our stenographer.
Okay, sure.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to cut in that Philly W. Attorney General again. Other than yourself, do you have any other witnesses that you intend to call?
Pardon me?
Do you have any other witnesses? Anybody else that you plan to call for this case? Coworkers, anybody that you plan to have testify on your behalf? Or are you simply going to speak for yourself?
No.
Okay, I just wanted to clear that up because in theory, you have the right to make an opening statement and then also, examine yourself. However, that without any other witnesses, that whole thing was kind of run into one event. So I just wanted to clear that up, so that it was going along with the proper process. So I apologize, and we can continue on with your testimony.
So Ms. Ugia, the floor is yours. You can make your opening statement and just kind of tell us your part or what you want to say to the board since you don't have any witnesses. When you do speak or your translator speaks, if you can speak slowly so that we can understand for our stenographer. Thank you.
Okay. So Erica is the manager, and we are the investigator, and we already found the buyer to sell the business.
Okay, so are you reading a written statement by Ugia, or are you translating for her?
Yeah, that's what she meaning.
So okay. Is that all you have to say?
还有什么要说的吗？
No. 没啥了吧？
就是说还有什么？就是放弃自动放弃那个 license。
没啥说的。
No, that's all we say.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just gonna read my closing statement and then
Do you want to cross-refer?
I mean, no, I don't.
Okay, you can go forward with your closing statement.
Okay. Madam Chair, members of the board, the state has shown by clear and convincing evidence that the respondent failed in their duty to supervise a licensed establishment and allowed prostitution-related conduct to occur under their authority. This behavior is incompatible with legal and ethical responsibilities of the licensee in the state of Nevada. The respondent's actions not only violated professional standards, but also posed a threat to public safety and the credibility of the licensing system. Accordingly, the state respectfully requests that this board take decisive disciplinary action, whether that be to suspension, revocation, or other appropriate sanctions to ensure compliance, deter future misconduct, and protect the public trust in Nevada's regulatory framework. The state also requests the maximum fines permissible under 644A NRS 92. Thank you, Madam Chair and board members, for sitting through this morning. Oh. Madam Chair, I forgot to put service in the record for the year. Yeah, actually, never mind.
Okay, at this time, we'll hear from Ms. Ugia for any closing statements. Anything you have on your end? And to Gia, do you have any closing statements at this time?
No,
No, okay. So then, we'll go forward with any comments.
Madam Chair, this is Vaughn Frost. May I speak for one moment?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Hi, Mr. Frost, unfortunately, because you're not the registered owner as far as the cosmetology board is concerned. I can't, I can't, I'm gonna object if you speak, so. yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. Let's go forward with, discussion and comments from our board members. Do we have any at this time? No? Yeah. Okay, so then, we would make a motion. And do we need to do each,
Yeah.
allegations?
I would do the same class.
Okay.
To, make a motion that all the facts, which isn't, and then another motion that all the violations
Okay,
actually occurred.
okay,
And then a third motion for the discipline after she gets off.
okay, sounds good. So at this time, I would like to make a motion, to accept all, allegations as presented as fact,
For all the facts of the group.
that all the facts are proven as fact.
Board Member Moreno, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. Now I'd like to make a motion, that, all of the allegations occurred. Can I have a motion, or can I have a second?
Board Member Douglas, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. At this time, we'll hear from Executive Director McDonald regarding a release.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Stephen, for the record. Yes, on the remedy and relief that you're seeking, it's the $2,000 per count. The cost of the investigation and attorney's fees. And the revocation of the license for 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to make a motion to revoke the license for 10 years. I would also like to include the imposition of administrative fees for $2,000 per count paid within 3 months. And also the costs and fees of the investigation and attorney fees as well. Can I get a second?
Board Member Moreno, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, thank you. We are going to go forward with agenda item number 5, which is the review of Assembly Bill 225 for discussion and possible action. The board will review and discuss Assembly Bill 225 proposed during the 2025 legislature. Give everybody a moment to get there. All right.
All right, Madam Chair, Stephen, for the record. We had a town hall meeting on March 10th. And it's because that we were the board, staff was approached by the industry concerning Assembly Bill 221 that's been proposed, this legislative session by Assembly Member Nguyen. It's NYGE. And so we took comment, the staff took notes, and several board members made comment concerning this bill. However, it was not an action item, it was for discussion only. So we brought it back before you to have discussion as well as act on it, was to vote if the board so chooses. You have, of course, various options here on this bill. You can vote to support it. You can vote to oppose it. You can vote to stay neutral, or you can vote to not do anything. It's really for the board's for the deliberations now. as to what you would like, the official position of the board to be on.
Okay, thank you. I was also informed that we may have the opportunity to hear. Is that, from members of the public or no?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's at your discretion to
Okay.
allow members of the public to start speaking on that now.
Okay,
Which is probably preferable. So we
Okay.
can,
thank you.
and then the board can deliberate.
Okay, thank you. Board members, would we like to hear from the public regarding thoughts on, Assembly Bill 65?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, awesome. At this time, do we have anybody from the general public who would like to make a comment on, this agenda item, review of Assembly Bill 225?
Madam Chair, you might want to remind them to raise their hands so that way we can.
Thank you. Yes.
We can keep track.
Yes, please. If you're on Zoom, you'll need to click on the raise your hand button so that we know it's you and we can ask you to unmute. Are we going to go forward with the 3 minutes or less for the comments? Yes, let's please keep our comments to 3 minutes or less. That way we can give everyone a chance to speak and go on record here. I do see one person with their hand up.
Hi, can I speak?
Hi, yes, please go
Hi.
forward. Can you state your name for the record and then you can go ahead and have the floor.
Yes, good morning. My name is Gwen Bramo, and thank you, Madam Chair and board members and staff for allowing us to speak. I'm in opposition of Assembly Bill 225 for many of reasons. California reduced their hours to 1,000 hours, and it has not been successful. Not as a school owner, 1,600 hours is appropriate for the course of study to make sure that the individual student is able to grasp all the subject matters that they will be actually servicing their clients. Because as a cosmetologist, you are a manicurist, you're an esthetician, and you're also a hair designer. So it's basically 3 licenses in one. And reducing the hours to 1,000 hours in of our consumers, and would Rob actually take away from the students being experts to be able to be successful to compete in the industry of cosmetology. Also, I wanted to share about the deregulation of the licensing for hair braiders, for shampoo technicians, to start the deregulation process of taking away saying you don't have to have a license without knowing skin and scalp, not knowing infection control, not knowing the Nevada laws. It's just so many things inside that bill that we really need to take a great look at. We have apprenticeship in our state already, so I'm not quite sure what the intent of that bill is, but I'm in opposition of it. Gwen Bramo from Expertise Cosmetology Institute. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
Thank you so much, Gwen, for being here and for your comment. We appreciate it. At this time, do we have another person? Oh, yes, we do. We'll see another hand.
Am I able to speak?
Yes, is this Sandy? No.
Okay,
Oh.
thank you. My name is Trisha Faust. And I am with Gwen. I completely oppose. We have worked very hard, in both me being an instructor for many, many years and me being an esthetician, a cosmetologist, an advanced esthetician, an oncology trained esthetician. It is very imperative for ourselves and for our customers that we can't deregulate our license. We've worked very hard for this, and this is what we maintain to stay regulated, to ensure the safety for ourselves and our clients. So I oppose that bill as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Miss Sandy Dunham, would you unmute? Okay, Sandy, we'll come back to you. Let's go with Benita Holly.
Hi, thank you, board members. Thank you, Chair. I'm with Euphoria Institute, the campus director here, and I have to say the same thing. My sentiments are exactly aligned with Ms. Bramo as far as the bill is concerned, deregulating I'm sorry, not deregulation, but reducing the number of hours. It sets the student up for lack of success, I would say. And as Ms. Bramo stated, you're not just reducing cosmetology, you're reducing the skin portion of the program, as well as the nail portion of the program. So, and safety and sanitation clearly is going to be affected by that reduction in hours. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. Thank you for, hearing the public and hearing us, school personnel and people that work in the industry. It's just a lot. So thank you for hearing our word. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Holly, for coming today and for your comment. Sandy Dunham, are you able to unmute?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Very poorly.
Okay. Wait a minute.
Have a
So
back
this is
echo.
Sandy Dunham from the Academy of Hair Design.
Okay.
We definitely oppose AB 225. We've been in business a long time. We've been over 50 years, and 1,000 hours would barely give you the time to do the theory for cosmetology, for manicuring and skincare, which is all part of the cosmetology program. I think it would be really a very unprofessional. It would cause a lot of unprofessionalism in the industry. I don't think they'd have time to learn, especially the infectious control and all the safety for the public, let alone even get much practical experience. Thank you for hearing us. And that's from all of us at the Academy of Hair Design.
Okay, thank you so much for your time and for your comments, Sandy. We appreciate it. At this time, are there any other people that are on the Zoom that would like to make a comment regarding Assembly Bill 225? If so, raise your hand and we'll be able to ask you to unmute.
Should be called for the record. There are no one, there's no one else on Zoom. Then you can go to people that are on the phone. Just so they're on the phone.
The phone, okay.
That want to speak. Hold on.
Hope they can't raise their hands.
Oh, okay.
So we have to just jump in.
Yeah. So we'll just unmute them one by one.
Well, if they're on the phone line and they'd like to speak, they can unmute themselves and say their name.
It's by pressing star six.
Star six.
Is it star six? Oh, I think it's star six.
All right, so we were just informed that if you are on the call, on the phone and would like to make a comment, you can unmute yourself by pressing star six and make your comment at this time.
Good morning. Can you ladies and gentlemen hear me?
Yes, can you please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Radiance Bryant and I am a licensed cosmetologist here in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Thank you. Go ahead with your comment.
Yes, I am also opposed to this bill because I feel like even during school hours, I feel there was a lot more that I could have learned as well. But when I was in school, we had 1,800 hours opposed to 16, and deregulating that does an extreme disservice to the students as well as the public that will be being serviced by the oncoming cosmetologist. 1,600 hours or less does an extreme disservice to the students and the public.
Thank you so much for your time and for your comment. We appreciate it. Is there anyone else that's on the call that would like to unmute themselves and make a comment?
So if anyone wants to submit written comment. I'm actually gonna turn it over to Jane.
If anyone would like to submit written comment about today's bill for AB 225, they can email it into us at inspection@ncosmo.com, and it must be received to us by 5 p.m. today.
Any other comments at this time? Okay, at this time, I would like to open it up for discussion with board members. Board members, do we have any comments or questions? Concerns? Chat, we just really were able to, last time, if I will just gently remind you, we were only able to make public comments ourselves. We weren't really able to discuss or ask questions, support staff. So now that it's an action item on the agenda, we're able to do so.
Yes, board members on the side.
Yes.
Board member Gentry, I oppose this.
Board member Molinaro opposes this.
Board Member Wold, I also am in opposition of Assembly Bill 225.
Thank you. Board Member O'Brien, I also oppose this. Do we have any comments, questions for board staff, anything that we want to go over more in detail, or are we ready to make a motion on this bill?
I think we're ready to make a motion.
Okay, let's do it. I will make the motion to oppose Assembly Bill 225. Can I get a second?
I remember.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you all. At this time, we are going to go forward with action item 5B, review of cosmetology licensure compact for discussion and possible action. The board will hear a presentation by Leslie Roxy, Vice President of Government Affairs, FBIC, and Keith Buckout from the Council of State Governments. Their presentation will focus on the cosmetology licensure compact, Assembly Bill 371, proposed during the 2025 legislature.
Hello. Can I share my slides, please? Let's see if I can share here. Can you see them?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Leslie Roste, as you said. My last name is spelled R-O-S-T-E. I work for the Future of the Beauty Industry Coalition. It is a group of employers in the cosmetology industry across the country. Most of them have a footprint in more than 2 states. And one of the pillars of this organization is better mobility for licensed cosmetologists. So in 2020, I applied on behalf of cosmetologist. In fact, Adam Higginbotham, who used to be at the board, was actually one of the people that helped on that initial application. And the application was sponsored by the Department of Defense on behalf of military spouses. The military has backed this incredible effort across all types of occupational licenses. But in the past, it's always been healthcare, the nursing compact being the oldest and largest compact. It currently has 42 states. It's been around for over 20 years. But in 2020, they made the decision that there was a reason to try to include occupations outside of healthcare that were likely occupations that military spouses may be licensed in, because the unemployment rate amongst cosmetologists, or amongst spouses, I'm sorry, in the military is well over and above what it is in the general public. But if their license is 31%, and some of that just comes from they're moving so frequently, all of the things that seem easy for you and I may not be quite so easy for them. So they just, for some period of time, quit working. So I want to share with you briefly what the compact is. I want to answer your questions so that we can, see if there's some place where maybe I can improve the impression that some of you might have, or just make it seem like it's not as big, not as scary as it might sound. So simple as this, is that what is a compact? And I won't read for you. I know you all know how to read. But the perfect example of the type of compact that we are pursuing for cosmetology is your driver's license. There are various different types of compacts, some that require somebody to get permission to practice in a state, some that do other mechanisms for that. They actually issue the license or they take payments. We don't do any of that. Ours operates much like your driver's license, and you would get a license in one state and you would be able to work in any other member state. And I'm being clear, member state. So you would work in any other member state and move freely between those states. It is maintained there's a commission that maintains the compact commission, and there is a commissioner that attends from each state. So should Nevada, for example, pass the compact in this legislative session, you would send a commissioner to the meeting. If it would happen before July, you would send a commissioner from this group. It's a regulator is how it's determined. The commissioner needs to be a regulator from the state, and they would come to the commission meeting in July, an important commission meeting because this is a new compact. So this commission will be making the rules and the bylaws and electing their first executive board. So if this is something that Nevada is interested in, I would love to have them, get the language through the legislature before that July meeting, so that one of you could attend to be part of the rulemaking, the bylaws and such for the commission. This is specific to a full cosmetology license. So if somebody has a nails license or a skin license, those would not fall under this. It's just a full cosmetology license. I will say that there will be an esthetician's compact that will be coming in the 2026 legislature, but for right now, it's just this full cosmetology license. Some of the specifics that were written into it that I think states may or may not know, it's a 27-page bill, so reading it, I understand, is kind of cumbersome, but it's written to allow for full sovereignty of each member state with regards to your hours, testing, and types of training. So I just heard you have a conversation on your hours. You pick your hours. Nobody else tells you how many hours that, nobody on the commission, no other member states. That is absolutely prohibited in the legislation. What type of testing you use, what vendor you use, what type of testing, if you have written practical, however you do that, that's up to you. And then the types of training. So if you have high school programs, if you have apprenticeship programs, it really goes with the theory that is similar to a driver's license, which is if you're safe enough to drive in Nevada, no matter how they determined you were safe enough, you're safe enough to do it in one of the other 49 states. It allows your state to set your own fees related to the multi-state benefit. So a very common thing would be that you might charge, I'm just going to say $50, let's say, for a single state license in Nevada. You as a board would be able to say, okay, for this multi-state license, the charge will be $100 or $125. You guys set that fee, and that is not influenced by the commission. Nobody tells you what the fee is for you to offer that multi-state benefit. This is the only type of reciprocity that actually benefits both the people coming into your state, but also your licensees in the state of Nevada. Because sometimes we talk about how easy reciprocity is into our states. We say, oh, we already do it. It's super simple. And it might be. I'm sure in Nevada it is, right? It's easy to come and get a license. What it doesn't do is benefit people who live in Nevada right now and have a Nevada cosmetology license and need to go work somewhere else temporarily. Or maybe they're getting ready to move somewhere and they need to go and start working immediately, right? So being part of this cosmetology compact would allow those people to go to another member state and get to work immediately. I mean, I know nobody wants to lose residents from their state, but sometimes that obviously has to happen. And I said that it works similarly to your driver's license. I did want to say one other thing on reciprocity while we're here. It doesn't do away with reciprocity, because you will still have reciprocity from states that are not member states. I mean, I don't foresee all 50 states being members of the compact anytime in the very near future, right? So there still would be reciprocity applications for people coming to Nevada from states that do not participate. So you will have some mix of people in the state should you enact this. Specifically, how does it work? If I live in state A, I live in Nevada, and I want to work in another member state, I get a multi-state license from my home state, which is Nevada. And you guys give me a multi-state license, and then I can go and I can work in other member states. I also, if I want to work in a non-member state, I still have to apply for reciprocity in that state. That does not change. But the one kicker here is that just like your driver's license, Nevada can pursue any type of remedy for somebody working in their state and breaking a rule or a law, right? Whatever you would do to your own licensees, you can do to somebody working on a multi-state license. The only thing that the state cannot do is revoke the multi-state license because you didn't issue it, right? So if someone's in your state working on a multi-state license from Kentucky and they do something wrong, you can do whatever remedy you would normally do. They can be on this hearing, whatever it is, but you cannot revoke their license. What you will do is let their state know. And by the way, you can flag this license in all the other member states. So everyone knows there's a problem with this licensee, and you can revoke this person's ability to practice in your state. They are no longer allowed to practice in your state. Hopefully, the home state would see it the same way and would take action on that. But you cannot revoke a license that you did not issue. All right. I'll just wait for questions at the end. I was going to say any questions, but I'll wait till we get to the end. I don't know why my slide's not advancing. Adverse actions. We talked a little bit about this. So let's presume that you have a licensee that has done something, your adverse action. One of the things that the database that is required as a part of this, so the database would be a thorough, comprehensive database between all the member states. It will allow you to have joint investigations. So it would allow you to investigate things that somebody has flagged in another state. Now you're seeing it in your state. You could have joint investigations over things that might not have been, and that may not have been very workable before. You can then, if you determine that somebody has done something that was egregious, like I said, you can either tell them they can't practice in your state, or all of their multi-state authority can be lifted and they only would be able to work in their home state, or even their home state could say you can't even work there. But any adverse action is reported via the data system. So you'll be able to see not only other infractions. So when part of your enforcement, you'll be able to see what has happened in other states with this particular licensee. You'll be able to see where they went to school and where they tested and what type of testing they did. This is just the opposite. This is if it was in a remote state. I already said this. Basically, they can't take away the license. They can only take away their ability to practice. They also could notify you if it was a Nebraska multi-state licensee working in, let's say, Kentucky again. Kentucky would notify you and say, hey, this person who has a license out of Nevada is working here and they did this horrible thing. And it gives you the opportunity to act on that license, even though that's not happening in your state. Some of the benefits, enhanced oversight of licensees through the database. We have seen in other compacts that it allows you to recognize first and reduce license fraud, which, as you guys know, is really rampant right now. And then also reduce school fraud. So I noticed on your website, you have a list of schools, for example, from California, where if somebody applies from there, you do some extra things to make sure that they actually know what they're doing. That would help other schools be recognized if there was fraud. Allows you to perform joint investigations and ability to flag problem licensees. Why now? So it would allow you, if you were to go through with it, as I said, be on the commission, the initial commission, where all the rules and laws will be, rules and bylaws will be written. And those rules are things like how long does if somebody came to Nevada, for example, on a multi-state license, how long could they work in Nevada before they had to get a Nevada license and make Nevada their home state, right? So a lot of times commissions will have the language that says when you would have to get your driver's license, right? So whenever you would have to get your driver's license in Nevada is also when you would have to switch over and make Nevada your home state. Those rules haven't been made, but they will be made at that July meeting. Also at that July meeting, the database requirements will be defined. So if there's specific things that need to be in the database for you to look at, that would be important, and that the executive board would be elected. Finally, we have a lot of people interested in it that I didn't think would be interested. We've had tons of interest this year. And some of it is because the political climate right now is a little more inclined to consider deregulation. And so one of the things that with a compact enacted is that the compact makes a legally binding agreement between you and all the other member states. Should there be a desire to deregulate, let's say in Nevada at some point, and I don't know that you're at any risk of it, some states really are, they would have to first introduce a bill, go through a legislative session to get out of the compact, and then introduce legislation to deregulate. So in some people's minds, it does help protect the actual license for states that are potentially at risk for deregulation. And again, I don't know if any of that affects you. This is the current compact map. All of the green states enacted in last year's session. So we have 8 states that enacted last year. We have all of the states in yellow that have current legislation. Several of these are already on governor's desks. So this may change tomorrow. This map changes like every day. And then blue states are states where actually, this has actually changed since then. West Virginia got introduced last week. So West Virginia is now a yellow state. So it's now got legislation pending. North Carolina, there's a lot going on there, not sure. And then Georgia, we've introduced, but it will be carried over. We've missed to the next session. We've missed the deadline for it being heard this session. And Wisconsin, we can't introduce until the summer. Oregon and Alaska do not have full cosmetology licenses, so they could not be a member of this particular compact because they don't offer that licensure. And California, highly unlikely California will enter a compact ever. They have no occupational licensing compacts at all whatsoever. We worked there for 2 years on the potential for it and got an absolute no. So for some people, that's important to know that that's not a thing. I will say California is undergoing sunset review in 2026. I would anticipate some pretty substantial changes in their cosmetology licensing in sunset review. Their 2020 sunset review was very much leaning towards deregulation, and it got interrupted by COVID. So there may be some substantial changes in cosmetology licensing in California in 2026. And I know they're your neighbor, so that may make some difference to you. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you so much, Ms. Grassi, for your presentation and walking us through that and for your time today. We appreciate you coming to tell us more about the compact. At this time, do we have any questions, comments? Yes, go ahead.
Board Member Gentry. First, how is this funded?
So the compact, the commission itself is self-funded, right? So when I said the piece about, and there's not much of a cost, the only cost associated with the commission itself is they at some point will hire an executive director, part-time position. And then the other piece would be if you were going to send your commissioner in person to the annual meeting. Those are really the only 2 costs to the state in terms of at the commission level. And those would be funded by a small amount of that additional licensing fee. So you would say, hey, $50 for a single state license, $125, let's say, for a multi-state privilege, and 10 of that goes to the commission, funding the commission. From your state level, there should not be, most of the fiscal notes are negligible or non-existent. There shouldn't be a huge fiscal note. Some states are concerned about the just the integration of the software being a fiscal responsibility. I can put you in touch with several other states that have already gone through their fiscal note process and help you with that. But I would say most fiscal notes sit under $20,000 for the first year.
Board Member O'Brien, so there is no annual fee for membership to the compact?
No annual fee. Like the state doesn't have a fee to the commission. It's license number based.
Okay.
Board Member Harris here. Good morning, everybody. So Ms. Rosti,
When you talked about the military, is this just for the people in the military, or is it for every citizen?
It's for every citizen. It's for every licensee. It was intended for, I mean, the military is how it ends up in all these states. The military I work directly with the Department of Defense and the Council of State Governments in a cooperative agreement to try to get these on the behalf of the military, but it benefits every licensee in the state.
Okay, great. Thank you.
This is Jamie Huggins. I'm with board staff. I would just want to clarify a couple of things. Earlier in your statement, it said that the board, meaning the board staff, would not take payments or issue the compact commission license. Is that correct?
No, you guys would issue it. The commission doesn't issue it. So that's why our commission there's no cost. You guys would create a new license type, which would be the multi-state license. And you guys would issue that license. You would take the money for it. The commission would not. No money is going to change hands between your licensees and the commission. Did I answer your question?
Yes, but just to confirm, so the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology staff will be in receipt of the applications. They will be responsible for processing them, taking the payments, and issuing the license.
Correct. For your residents who want a multi-state license. If I want to come to your state and just work from Kentucky, I just come and work. I just come and I show up just like I drive in your state. I just come and work in your state. You're not going to know that I'm even there unless an inspector shows up and sees my license and that I'm doing something wrong. The only time you would know I'm even there is when I now need to make Nevada my home state, because now I've decided to move there, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you. And then that actually segues into another question that I have. Earlier in your comments, you said that for a compact licensee in Nevada holding a multi-state license, that we can, with the exception of revocation, treat them as any other license, any other licensee. So
exactly.
We typically issue written warnings and sometimes we issue citations. So according to the compact, we don't need to go to or according to what you're saying, we don't need to go to the compact commission to take adverse action against the licensee. We can issue normal discipline the way we normally discipline our licensees.
Correct. And this is another place where thinking about your driver's license kind of helps. If I get a ticket in Nevada, I'm getting a ticket in Nevada no matter what state my license is. And if they're going to put me in jail, they're still going to put me in jail. The only thing that Nevada couldn't do to me if I got in trouble with my driver's license, as you couldn't take away my driver's license because you didn't give me the driver's license, right? But so it's that same thing. You do everything you would normally do with your own licensees. And you, up to and including banning them, you can make the decision to not let them, your board could make the decision to ban them from ever working in your state again. And you definitely would red flag them in the system for other people to see that you've had an issue with that licensee.
Understood. And then regarding deregulation and some of your comments about that, as you heard in the previous agenda item, there's already a bill that's looking at partial deregulation, and it's specifically parsing out the services for a cosmetology licensee. It actually would put us in a similar state that California's in relating to hairstyling, hair services of that nature. So how does that impact the compact when these two bills are basically competing against each other in the current legislative session?
They shouldn't impact each other at all because you set the scope for your state, as does every other state. The licensees, the multi-state licensee can only operate under the scope of the state that they're actually working in. So let's say somebody was trained to do something that is, let's say through this other piece of legislation, taken out of the scope in Nevada, they would not be allowed to do it in Nevada. They can only do what the scope allows in Nevada. Now, where it would really help you is if for some reason your hours get reduced. It doesn't sound like anyone's for it, but let's just say it happened. Your Nevada licensees would then be at a huge disadvantage when they try to move to another state, right? Because they only have 1,000 hours and 80% of the states require, there's only 2 states that require over 1,600 hours, but 80% of the states require 1,500 to 1,600 hours, right in that little sweet spot. So if you were leaving Nevada with 1,000 hours, as California people are running into this, now you have to jump through a lot of extra hoops to move to another state. So it would actually benefit your licensees. Does that make sense?
Yes, that actually does make sense. And then I'm actually searching for the language in the bill regarding the membership fee or the annual dues, but you said that there would be no fees, but I believe it's written into the bill that in addition to the licensing money, there's also a membership fee or a due that is required for the state of Nevada, the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology, to pay to participate in the commission.
So yeah, I maybe didn't state that exactly correctly. So you are right. But what happened is at that July meeting, should you send a commissioner, somebody sitting at the table here, the conversation will occur. How much money do we need to run the commission, right? And that's where these fiscal notes that I said are around the $20,000 range are coming out, because obviously you're not going to have money in your pocket before you've done the licensing. Well, some states will, some states won't. Let's put it that way. But how most commissions, and this will be up to the commission to decide, I don't make that decision, but how most commissions look at this is they say, for every multi-state license that is generated, X dollars goes to the commission for supporting the commission up to some amount, so that states like California aren't paying 10 times as much as like Montana, right? We're trying to make sure that it's equal based on the number of licensees that someone has. So yes, there is and it's a small fee. It's only a fee to basically run the commission. And at some point likely the first 2 years, they'll have somebody acting as the commission, as the executive director from the Council of State Governments, because nobody will have generated enough licenses in the first 2 years to pay for it. So there'll be somebody acting in that role, but eventually they'll need to hire an executive director, and that job usually pays around $60,000 a year. So that by then, hopefully, we would have 25 or more states in. So it's not a big expense.
Okay, so then just to confirm, the only fees that will be paid by the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology are fees that are revenue generated from issuing the multi-state license, and not membership or dues fees.
Correct. And then any fees that you incur internally for creating your license, obviously that's your situation, is creating your own license there. That would be on your state board, yes.
And then that is my last question, actually. So I understand, and the language of the bill does allow us to set the fee. However, our fees are set in statute. So without a fee being set in statute, we will not be able to collect a fee to issue any type of new license until it can be set in statute, which will likely not occur this session and will not occur. It will have to be, we will have to retain the services of a lobbyist, most likely to lobby that we add a fee in to support this bill.
In 2026?
27, most likely. Well, yes, yeah. Most likely, and it will occur in the 2027 session.
Yeah. And, there's no way for us to have guessed what fee you guys would want in advance, of introducing the bill. We want every state to have their autonomy. So it may be a slower process for you guys to, get moving on this. I will tell you that the projected date for generation of multi-state licenses to begin in the states that are ready is first quarter of 2026. So that's when the states that have everything in place will start generating multi-state licenses. That doesn't mean you couldn't pass the compact now and be prepared for when you get that increased fee schedule. Then say 2027 is when you guys enact it.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. You still could send a commissioner. I should verify that. You still could send a commissioner to the commission meeting in July. I should verify that even if you're not ready to roll, you could still send a commissioner.
Sorry, Madam Chair, so to go over the chair on questions.
Yeah.
Which I am happy. I'll turn it back to the board member.
So this is board member Deschry. I still have a concern here. And Janie brought it up. Yeah, it works for the states that have, we were just looking, there's a number of states that have 1,000 hours for cosmetology. Massachusetts, one of them, New York, New Jersey. They're coming here, I would say they just graduated from school 6 months ago. And they decided to move here. So they don't really have the hours that we're requiring for our cosmetology license. But yeah,
That's absolutely true. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. That they don't have your hours, but one of the things that if you heard me testify, one of the things that I said in the hearing is that my background is in health and public safety in this industry. I wrote for Milady and for Pivot Point, all of their infection control, chapter 5, and Milady has been my content for the last 3 editions of that book. I am an exam item writer. So for the exams that people take, I'm an item writer for that. My background is in nursing and in specific infection control nursing. So I am very well versed in what it takes to be safe, right? And I understand everybody wants a cosmetologist to be good, but the responsibility of the state is to make sure that they are safe, that they do not hurt a consumer. So all I say to people when that is their concern is that nobody wants an unsafe cosmetologist. So in a state where there's 1,000 hours, they're taking the exact same exam that 1,500 hour and 1,800 hour states are taking. Health and public safety, and I'm sure the school owners on here can agree with me, is always taught in the beginning of school in the theory, right? Yes, they practice it more when they have 1,500 hours or 1,800 hours, but the health and public safety piece is taught early on because it is so heavily covered in their exams. So I try to tell people to be rest assured that people coming here have taken the exact same exams. They just happen to live in a state that has a different way of doing the education. They may teach less about how to start a business or some other parts of it. So I understand your concern, and that's common.
Respectfully, Ms. Rossi, my concern is, I understand what you're saying about the tests and they're being standard for most states and their health sanitation. But that is kind of hypocritical in complete conflict with what we were just talking about before we started this on AB 225. So if we're saying we don't want to change our hours,
right?
We're kind of allowing something else to squeak in. So I'm a little bit concerned about the compact changing our guide.
And I don't know how you guys handle that now. If somebody comes, there's 6 states that have 1,000 hours. So if somebody from Texas comes to apply for reciprocity, I'm not sure how you guys are handling that now. Or are those people being required to go back to school or to retest? I don't actually know how you handle it now when those people come to your state.
So Bertha Jackson, Chief Operating Officer for the board. I guess another issue would be our concern with diploma mills and fraudulent documents from schools.
Right.
How would this compact, I guess, aid in that?
That's actually one of the best things about the database. So you may or may not be aware there's a FBI investigation going on across the United States that a large number of fraudulent licenses are coming out of a particular state that's in your region. I'll just say that a large number of fraudulent licenses, I mean, well above what people would have expected out of this state. The problem is that people are taking a fraudulent license and going to a universal licensing state like Arizona, for example, or California, handing them a fraudulent license and getting a real license. And that's what they're operating off of. But there's no way to record that between all the states. Nobody is seeing how these licenses are moving. So the one benefit of the database is you'll be able to see trending where people are moving, what they're doing with licenses that come out of a state. So will it be slow in the beginning? Yes, because if you only have 15 states, that's not a ton of data, right? But as you get more and more states, you get more and more data. And so I think that we've learned a lot of lessons from healthcare, from some of the most dangerous occupations out there, how they do their compacts and how they trend for fraudulent licenses, fraudulent schools, because those things happen in those professions as well. So I get your point, but I think that's where the database comes in.
So we would have to wait until we get more data. We would have to initially license them through this compact, license them, even though we know that their schools or their documents were fraudulent. we would still have to license them because they're a part of this compact. That's where my concern is.
You know, you wouldn't
We're
license
initially
them.
licensing somebody that does not have the training, and that we're allowing them to work on the public.
Right. So what I'm saying is you're not licensing them, right? They're coming to work in you as a member state from another state that has licensed them. And I will say, becoming a part of a compact is a measure in trust of other states, that other states are doing their jobs, right? That these other states are going to do their job in determining whether somebody should or should not get a license, right?
But we
And
are allowing them to work in Nevada through this compact. Is that correct?
yes, yes, if you were another member state would be allowed to work in Nevada. That is correct.
Based on fraudulent documents.
If they went to another state.
Assuming that this applicant is coming from a school that we know is a diploma mill in that state, they transfer a license that they received in that state or they use the compact to work in Nevada, we're allowing them to work in Nevada knowing that they don't have that training.
Well, yes and no. Keep in mind that you're trusting other people to do their jobs, other states to do their jobs. That person can only work temporarily in your state. The compact isn't designed for permanence, right? It's designed for temporary. So if I am coming to Nevada and I'm working for the high season, I live in Minnesota and it's January and now I want to go work in Nevada because it's nicer weather or it's busy or whatever, it's allowing me to do that. It's not allowing me to work in Nevada forever.
Correct.
And when
But even if it is temporary work, we're still putting the public at harm by allowing that temporary work to happen in the state of Nevada.
If another state doesn't do their job, yes, you are. And that's why the commission meets and that's why the commission has conversations. And that is the perfect opportunity for somebody from Nevada on the commission to say, XYZ in whatever state, we've had a lot of fraudulent licenses coming out of your schools. I mean, you're supposed to be working together on this commission to improve it. So could a bad thing happen? Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Rossi. Board Member O'Brien here. Question for board staff. Do we have any issue with tracking down fraudulent schools or having any issue with this at this time?
This is Jane Higgins for the record. We, the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology, do not have issues tracking fraudulent licenses or problematic schools, our mill schools, or other types of licensing fraud. We've identified many cases of it. The issue that we have is that many of these come from other states. They're not within our jurisdiction. So while we can elect not to accept them based on the fraud, we cannot do anything to stop it and to cut it off at the source. We have, however, tried to work cooperatively with the states that we've identified those issues in, but we've not seen a response. So the schools that are our mills that we've identified remain open. We continually see these types of applications coming through. And so that actually leads me to a question. I think the state should work together, especially to make a positive impact on licensing fraud and our mills. But we share that information already cooperatively and we don't necessarily see a response. So what type of authority would the commission have to have a member state or another state actually act on that, especially when these people are already committing crimes by engaging in licensing fraud? They're employees of their own state, and they're already not doing what they should be doing.
Right. So one of the things that the commission will be writing bylaws around is, when does a state become can they no longer be a member state? When do you basically kick someone to the curb, another state, or put them on, so to speak, notice, like, if you don't fix this problem? Those bylaws will be generated in July. So those bylaws will say there will be circumstances under which the commission says, I'm sorry, state XYZ, you can no longer participate in the compact because we have this ongoing problem, it's well documented, and everybody else doesn't want licensees from your state who are coming out of these fraudulent school mills that you're doing nothing about. That will be built in as as one of the rules on how this law is implemented when they sit down in July to write the rules. So there will be a mechanism for that.
This is Board Member Wold. I had a question. as we keep talking about the legislative session and what will be written into law, my concern is, and kind of like in the past, is when bills are written, the legislators can choose what they want to add and take away in the bill. And so my question is like you're affirming or, insinuating that this will be, written or this will be implemented, but there's really no guarantee. And then, it kind of just throws us in a limbo of trying to communicate with other states. And I don't know if you're familiar with our board or not, but they do a very awesome job and are very thorough with communicating and staying on top of anything going on with our licensees. So for me, I kind of feel like the compact, I think it would be like beneficial in a way for licensees, but I think it would almost be more of a headache, trying to communicate with various states and other parties, to get work done, because we already do that very well, and we already have our own issues that arises. So my question is like, one, if it's really necessary to, can join with others when that can cause headaches, and two, when this goes to session, who's to guarantee that the way the language is written now is how it's going to pass into law?
Well, I can absolutely answer that part for you. There is no wiggle room. Compacts can only be written virtually identically from state to state. Otherwise, a state would not be able to participate because everyone's agreeing to the same thing. All the other states are agreeing and saying, we will do these things. So we can't let one state have a different set of rules. In fact, we lost 2 bills last year because we wouldn't let people make changes, because then we would have let them make a change and pass a law that they simply couldn't enact. They couldn't have been a part of the compact. So compacts by definition are identical from state to state, with just a few, like, changing shall and, may and those kinds of wording around to fit your legislature. But once the bill is written, it gets approved from the Council of State Governments and it cannot be changed. So that I can assure you that the bill will not change, and it's been introduced and it is exactly as it was written.
Okay, thank you.
You made mention of it being very similar to your driver's license. And how the states can kind of enact their own verbiage or regulations regarding when an individual would have to transfer over and become, licensed for Nevada. Can you speak to, is there any, I guess it's a 2-part question, but like, is there any states that have already done that, and kind of what have they done in that respect?
Yeah, so they won't do that until they've sat down and made the rules and the bylaws in July. So let's say they decide they want to make a rule that says, I don't know, I'm trying to think of something that would change that, but they could make a rule as a commission. The state's sitting down, the initial commission could say, we have this rule that you can't, let's say you couldn't go below 1,000 hours. Now, you can't talk about hours, but you can't tell somebody how many hours to have, but you could have a basement number. Since there is no state that is below 1,000 hours right now for a cosmetology license, you could say that's the basement. Can't go any lower. Can't join it. I don't know if that would be a rule they would make, but they could make a rule, and then people would be tasked at their own state. And I think this is the thing. You have, in the beginning, let's say 10 people sitting down who each represent their state board of cosmetology, the regulatory agency, and they all sit down and talk about, I think what the huge value is, common problems. You all have the same issues. As I go state to state, everyone has the same issues. And so the only way it seems to start to get some resolution is to have people that sit down once a month and say, this is a common problem. What can we do in at least our 8 or 10 or 15 states to combat this problem as a commission? And then that would make some change. But until those rules are written, nobody has done that yet.
Okay, my question was specifically related to like them transferring over to a Nevada timeline, because for like a driver's license, it's like 6 months.
Right, that will be
like,
determined.
Like 3 to 6 months, depending on which state, if I'm not mistaken. Is that inaccurate?
I don't know that number, but what I would say is that's what a lot of people use as the criteria, whatever that number is in that state. But that commission could say 10 days or once you your domicile is here and you have utilities in your, I mean, they could come up with any way to say, now you're a Nevada resident and now this has to be your home state. So, but the driver's license seems to be the most common thing.
Yeah, no, thank you for that example. It totally like made me able to, kind of assimilate with that a little bit more than what I was originally, but, at that time, then they would make Nevada the home state and they would apply for a Nevada license. Is that accurate?
Yep.
Okay, so Nevada currently has, maybe the board staff can correct me on this, but at the time of our last meeting, it was 48 hours, right?
Yes, Madam
I don't
Chair.
think it goes much quicker than that.
Even on the record, we process applications in 2 days, especially for the military.
Yeah.
And just for the record, I'm on for applicant officer in 2 years, so I'm not a great deal.
Yeah.
So definitely have appreciation on your families. But yes, as soon as we're, as part of the questionnaire asks, are you in the military or not? And then once that box is checked, it's flagged. And so that gets put to the top of the process and we process those within 2 business days.
And for those applications that are not listed as Army, they also go through that expedited reciprocity.
Yes, Madam Chair. We're only 3.2 million in the state, so we're a small state.
Yeah.
And we have much faster process things as well.
Okay, so there is no hindrance pending proper paperwork, documentation, having all of the requirements that the board requires them to turn in at the time of the application. There is really no hindrance on the board staff's end.
That's great.
Thank you. Ms. Rosti, I do have one more question for you. The presentation was saying that it benefits both Nevada licensees and member state licensees. Could you walk us through the benefits?
Could I also, I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
You're talking very fast. I'm sorry.
I have been told that. I'm sorry. I will slow down. I was just wondering, like, the presentation was talking about benefits for Nevada licensees and then also the member state licensees. Could you talk to us about those benefits specifically?
Yeah, I think the biggest benefit for Nevada licensees is they may need to go somewhere, right? And they may need to, and I will tell you, even if your process is very quick for reciprocity in your state, that is not the case. If you're moving to Illinois, the minimum amount of time it takes, even if you have all your paperwork in place, is 6 months. So your Nevada licensee who may have to go to Illinois because their spouse got relocated or whatever, they are having to wait. They would not have to do that in this situation, right? Am I answering your question?
I'm so sorry, board member O'Brien. Illinois is my home sate. That's where I'm from. It is not 6 months. I hold that license. I just wanted to clarify.
For a reciprocity license right now on their website, it says at a minimum of 6 months. They're very understaffed right now. So for a reciprocity license, and a lot of times what we see is a lot of states have military expedited licensure. I'm not saying this is Nevada, but what that means is once you have all your paperwork and you bring it to the door, then it's expedited. But sometimes getting all that paperwork is quite cumbersome for somebody, somebody to get those letters. And it's actually the letters of certification in Illinois that take so long. So if somebody was coming to Nevada from Illinois, those letters of certification can take a long time as well. So, or from Texas, we've had people testify they've taken, 3 or 4 months from Texas, depending on how busy they are. So for you to get your initial license in Illinois, it was not 6 months, but somebody moving there trying to get a reciprocity license, there are challenges for them.
I just want to clarify one more time. So my original license was Nevada. My home state that I was born in is Illinois. My family lives there, I opened a business there. So it was a reciprocity.
Okay,
and I did have that in 30 days.
I'm just saying currently that's what they state on their own website.
The benefit that you had talked about was for Nevada licensees going elsewhere. Is there any other benefits that you can speak to and tell the board about?
Well, I can tell you not for necessarily licensees, but for businesses in Nevada who need to staff quickly, it allows them to have a bigger pool if they can't get enough employees. And the other 2 groups that have testified widely across the country that I didn't even talk about, but I talked about it in testimony, were victims of domestic violence. If a victim of domestic violence needs to move, they need to move quickly and anonymously, and they can't afford to wait any time to get to work. All right. And this type of legislation helps them to be able to move somewhere and get straight to work, but also displaced people from natural disasters, the fires in California, the floods in North Carolina. If you need to move and where your family is and you need to get right to work, you don't have any time to waste. You know, you need to go straight to work. So those are some of the other beneficiaries. But I think as far as the licensees in Nevada, it doesn't affect them if they don't want to move. They just get a single state Nevada license and they stay in Nevada their whole life. If they need to move and they have that multi-state option, they need to go somewhere even temporarily, or they need to eventually move there, it gives them the freedom to do that.
Absolutely. Great points. Thank you. Board Member O'Brien, again, here in Nevada, we have a lot of, we are a very tourist community, as you know. I also want to remind the board that, we've seen how many cases of people coming into town and renting conferences rooms and, really hosting these classes and things like that. Have we thought about, what that's going to look like if they actually are licensed, but still not using proper facilities? Is this going to encourage more of that? Because technically now they can say they are licensed here, but they actually don't have a facility. They're still using, conference rooms and places that are, not up to our inspection standards and things like that. How would we look at that?
This is Jane Huggins for the record. That actually, I have a couple more questions. I would like to address what Board Chair just said. Many states have very similar rules, generally speaking, about single-use items or prohibited items. However, most of the states that are already in the compact have pretty varying scopes of practice for a cosmetologist. And I think one of the states can do piercings and brandings. I think another couple don't allow eyelash extensions. And for those of you who have been in the industry for a while, I think you're all aware of what many licensees thought was a national license. When the national exams started to become popular many, many years ago, many licensees to this day still think they have a national license. And this isn't really a national license, but the point of that story is, how are you going to explain or communicate to a a licensee from Ohio who does not have a multi-state license and does not participate in the compact, that they can't simply work in Nevada because we're all compact states? How does the Compact Commission plan to clarify and explain and educate licensees on what specifically they need to do before problems like that occur?
That's a good question. And I believe that what will end up happening, again, this is up to the commission, is that different types of education materials will be developed. We're already working on a website, on the website where you could scroll over a state, click on it, and it would tell you their infection control rules, like sort of in a nutshell, right? The things that, or their scope in a nutshell, in those kinds of things, so that they're aware of what they can and cannot do in those states. And it also is inherent in the rules to have a rule that says if you weren't trained in something, even though you're in a state that allows that with the cosmetology license, you're not allowed to do it. I know it's a hard thing to put our arms around, but it's not any different from, can I hold my phone when I'm driving in Nevada? If I don't look it up when I go get my rental car, can I hold my phone to my head? Then that's on me if I get pulled over and I get a ticket. Or right turn on red. There's a lot of things we require people to know when they go into another state, that the onus is on them. But I do believe that the commission will spend a lot of effort because they've got time, to educating these states and their licensees on what exactly that means they can do and they cannot do.
And then this is Jane Huggins again for the record, but ultimately then, so if a licensee that does not participate in the Compact Commission from, say, Ohio, were to work in Nevada because they believe they had the ability to do so, it would be on the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology to...
They're working without a license, just like anybody else who showed up today who didn't get a license. They're working without a Nevada license. It would be the exact same situation.
Right.
And keep in mind, with only 10 or 20 states, you're always going to have other people still coming into your state through reciprocity or just working without a license.
Right, absolutely. That's actually kind of where the concern comes. It's something that we find very commonly, where, yes, every day the inspectors in the field find individuals from other states that are licensed that haven't figured out the reciprocity process. And that actually segues into another question. So we will be issuing this license, and it will presumably look like the licenses we already issue. So what will the other states' licenses look like? So when they leave their compact state to go practice in another state with their multi-state license, it's going to presumably say Ohio or another state on it, correct?
Right, they will say Ohio, and it will indicate that it's a multi-state license. That indicator, what those words are, if there's a symbol or words or a symbol and words, again, will be determined by the commission. What is it every state wants to be able to see on that license? Every inspector, so that they would know, yes, they're here legally in Nevada with an Ohio multi-state license, not just an Ohio license.
And then my last question is going back to the conversation that you guys were using Illinois as the example. So there are different experiences for new applicants, reciprocal applicants. I have heard of stories in some states where it does take a long time. I don't see how the compact addresses processing times. The Nevada State Board of Cosmetology chooses and has the staff process applications within 2 business days. That doesn't seem, or may not be the case in some other states. They may not have a mandate on that. How will that be addressed to make processing times not the issue? Because I could apply for a license and it could still be processed in 6 months, regardless of the database or a compact.
Correct. So respectfully, I'm just going to say this. If somebody can come to you and they don't, I think I heard him say, you don't have to have all the paperwork in your hand. That's what takes the time, is getting all the paperwork. You just have to have the application. I can have a license in 2 days. Then you're really not doing the vetting that you seem to be wanting to do anyway, unless I'm misunderstanding that process. If I can just show up with my license and in 2 days have another license without all of the paperwork that is necessary, the letters of certification from other states and that kind of thing, this would expedite it. Because if I want to move to Nevada and I live in a compact state, I can come here and start working today while I'm working on getting my reciprocity license done, whatever that takes, or in any other state. Your Nevada licensees who might go to a state where it's very difficult can go live there with their military spouse or their whatever, a new job. They can go live there and they can be working gainfully while they're navigating that process. I think, you have less people who are subverting the system if the system is made to be a little more user-friendly. And in this case, I think this does make it a little more user-friendly. There's more categories of people, but I think it does make it a little bit more user-friendly.
I have a question for the board. At this time, we require our applicants to let us know, or I'm sorry, excuse me, our licensees to let us know where they're working correctly, or correct?
Yes, Stephen Thomas, record, that is correct, within 30 days.
Okay. How would we track these individuals that are coming to work here that have license to do so?
If that's a requirement of your state, that would be a requirement of your state ongoing.
I was specifically asking for the board staff.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry for the confusion.
Yes, and then I definitely would like this process.
Yeah, of course.
So, the devil's in the details, and I think that's really coming out here. Because commission has met, they only met one time, so I know it's October last year. Of the states that were there, I think the states that are members, I think Ms. Frosty, I think there were 8 at the time that the October meeting happened. And who knows what that number will be this year, 2025. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. When I talk to my peers, executive nationwide, and even the ones that are members, and of course, all these questions. So how's it supposed to work? How are we supposed to keep the public safe? And there's still just a lot of unanswered questions. So until the commission really meets and has a lot more information on the budget, we really don't know what the budget is. I mean, we're speculating that $6,000. That's been mentioned at hearings, and I actually got it from a hearing in California from the there. So that's the number we use in our fiscal note, saying that it's really a guess because we don't know what the RFP process would be or any of those kind of things. It's not an questions. I think Ms. Rossi, that's probably where the angst comes from. I think they should shut down with that. It's just some because there's just so many unknowns of how this is supposed to really work. Because we're going to have to meet together as compact states and work through it. but we don't have those answers. And I think that's part of the issue that's coming out. A lot of questions, how do you do this? What's life going to look like? How are these things going to happen? How do you do with people that come to our state that are cosmetologists, that's all it's for. It started out with just for military, and then it's of course gotten broader than that, than the military. What this compact is for now. Because we're not saying it's like reciprocity to us. I mean, but we do it so quickly here in Nevada because we're a relatively small state compared to everybody. Our processing times are very quick. And it is 2 business days once we get the complete application. Just as an example, just for Ms. Rossi, a couple weeks ago, we had a person in Michigan apply for a reciprocity license, cosmetology. Person came in, they had to take a Nevada law exam. There is no Nevada law class. It's an exam, it's on our website. You can practice it over and over again until you learn it. It's just basic law, basic Nevada law in cosmetology. Person applied on Wednesday. They got their cert on Thursday. They took their exam Saturday because they couldn't fit it in. And you can take it any time. It's administered by the Pearson U, Nevada law exam. They can take it anywhere. It's online. It's secure. So you take that test. She took it on Saturday because that's the only time that she could choose to schedule it. She chooses to schedule it. We're 24-hour state. I don't even know states like us. So she chose to take it on Saturday. We issued it Monday. So that's really from Ms. Rossi's information. We processed somebody from Michigan, a reciprocity application. As soon as she took the test on a Saturday, she scheduled herself. We processed it on Monday. So, and I'm trying to get that lower down to 1 day as soon as we can. So I'm proud to say my staff does a very good job here when it comes to recognizing other states' licenses, recognizing when they have a need to get that license quickly and not be an impediment to them getting into the industry. Without them, we don't exist. Without licensees, we don't exist to regulate them. So don't want to be an impediment to them, but they also must definitely fill out an application. That's basic information. You know your name, where your license is, what state you come from. Those are basic information. By the way, on the military stuff, we have to collect that anyway by another law outside of our chapter. So it's forced upon us regulatory boards to collect that information anyway for the Nevada Department of Veterans. Separate law, separate department, no jurisdiction over them. They have a law that says regulatory boards must collect this information. So when we ask a question, it's actually by statute that we have to ask. So we have to, because we have to collect it. And Ms. Rossi, I'll allow you to respond to this other question that the chair had asked. I apologize.
I forgot the question. I'm sorry. I was listening to you, but I forgot where it started. What the initial question was?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I think I forgot where I was going because I was preparing my next one because you mentioned something that piques my interest as well.
Well, it's just dealing with trying to, how's this gonna work?
Yeah.
When a person comes in from out of
Yeah.
state and going in and looking, I'm sorry, Ms. Rossi, I digressed.
It was, how are we gonna track them?
Yeah,
Where they're working?
yeah. How we're supposed to track where they work.
Yeah.
Even under our law, it's 30 days.
Yeah.
I think that was the question.
So if that's the rule in your state, again, back to you have to work within the rules of the state. So that would be part of the education across the board of member states. If you're going here, I want to go to Nevada. These are the things I have to do in Nevada. And one of them is I have to report to the board where I'm working. I mean, it still applies to those people. Your rules apply. And in fact, your exam that you give, when somebody makes it their home state, you make them take the test just like everybody else.
Okay, so that responsibility for tracking would fall on the board as usual.
As usual, it'd be the same thing. Whatever it already was, it would be.
Yeah, okay. That leads me to my next question.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, to interrupt you. That is, since we talked about California, and California has no interest in the compact.
Okay.
The largest state in the union, And they're next door to us, and that's where the bulk of our reciprocity happens on the way, is from California. So really the compact doesn't help them at all. It doesn't help a Nevada licensee go into California. They have to get reciprocity there for their license. So it's got to be on the record. I think it's been confirmed by Ms. Ross. California has no interest in this. Matter of fact, from our conference call with the EE there, they told her not to mention the C word again. The C word meaning compact there in that state, at least the cosmetology compact.
Okay.
That came from her mouth, but I didn't make that up. And so if the bulk of the reciprocity happens from California, and they're not going to be a part of the compact, how does this impact our reciprocity? How does the compact impact? They can go other places. Out west is Arizona and Colorado. There are compact members. So a person would have to go, if you're going to stay out west, would have to go to, for the compact license to even apply, it'd have to be Colorado or Arizona at this point in time. If I'm correct, Ms. Rossi.
At this point, yes.
Board Member O'Brien, at this time, just to confirm, our cosmetology hours are 1,600, correct? And so Colorado's their cosmetology hours are 1,500 and Arizona is 1,600. So our licensees going there would not need to do anything at this point to get a license there, correct?
This is Janie Higgins for the record. Our Nevada licensees going out to those states, correct? There would be nothing additional typically. And then just of note, Arizona is facing complete deregulation during this session as well. So.
Right.
Oh, yeah, Ms. Rossi, I'm sorry to keep jumping in that chair. We did have a question about that. Yes, about their possible issue of deregulation, deregulating the cosmetology industry and barbering industry there. I don't know if it's going to pass or anything, but it's you have some tenacious legislators there. How does that impact the compact if the state actually gets deregulated from that area?
The state would be removed from the compact commission. So the state would no longer be a member state. They have to have licensure, they have to have education and testing.
Okay, since you're saying that drops down to 7 and say another state drops out, possibly deregulation, what happens to the compact then, since you need 7 states?
We won't go many 7. We actually have 6 states that are sitting on governor's desks right now that are had full support of the legislature. So we won't go below 7.
Thank you.
This is Janie Huggins. I'm sorry, just one more question. So you just said that with the situation in Arizona specifically, where they're facing complete deregulation, that they would just not be a participant anymore because they wouldn't have licenses to issue. But earlier you said that it would protect the states from deregulation because they would have to, in a later legislative session, repeal the compact.
So that's exact. So the process would be, if I want to deregulate and I'm in an active compact, right? If I wanted to deregulate, I would get a bill to get out of the compact and a bill to deregulate. Also, to put you guys mind at ease, that bill in Arizona just died, I believe, on maybe yesterday, or Friday. I'm not exactly sure. It died in committee, the deregulation bill in Arizona. But it is a 2-step process. But they would not be allowed to be a member state once they deregulated. So they would deregulate. They would be on the sort of the bubble of you're not a member state. Your licensees can no longer use those multi-state licenses. So there's no way that a state that is deregulated would be allowed to retain their membership status. And I also apologize. I apologize if I've been very kind of hard to hear or hard to talk. I've been very sick. I almost called you guys and said I couldn't be here. So I'm having a hard time hearing when people are talking. So I apologize.
Yeah, we'll definitely speak up on our end, and just for the record, we can hear you wonderfully. So
okay, good.
You're doing great on your end.
Thank you.
Can you, I apologize, I was trying to take note as quick as possible, but you had a map up of the states. There were obviously the ones, I believe they were green, that were in the compact, and then there were others listed that wouldn't be a part of it due to not meeting licensing requirements, and then of course California. And then there was also some that were pending and some that were coming. And then there were the gray ones. Can you tell us about the gray ones? What's going on?
The gray ones are just Those are just states we haven't gone to yet. Those are just states that, for whatever reason, they either weren't in session this year or they had very short sessions. We specifically didn't go to Utah because, as you guys are probably well aware, Utah had a lot of issues around licensing this year. So while Utah has every single occupational licensing compact for occupational licensing, we avoided that. We thought it might create more problems than it would help. And so, yeah, those are just states that we either haven't been to. Illinois, for example, your home state, they have a the head of the committee wants to make sure that everybody has had domestic violence training before they work in the state. And there's really no way to know that who's in your state doing it. So we're working with some of the textbooks and curriculum providers to see if we can't get domestic violence training in all the textbooks. So everyone gets that training regardless of whether it's a law in their state. And that will satisfy that now. So we've been talking with Illinois, for example, but we have never filed legislation there.
I'm very interested to see that Florida's not listed on there due to their, I would have thought that they would jump at something like this due to their low number for licensing requirements.
Well, again, we have to make decisions on what are good states for us to have here that are going to be the least disruptive for the states that, I mean, we don't, like every state who wants to do it, we don't be like, hey, come on, that's a great idea. We actually look at the state too to say, are they going to be a good fit for the other states? Now, it doesn't stop somebody from introducing legislation in a state. For example, New York. We've never introduced legislation in New York. We have never pursued New York because just like California, New York sometimes gives people angst, but there's two Republican senators, a senator and a assembly member who always introduce every single year. So technically there's legislation in New York. Are we pursuing it? No, it will never get heard because of the Republicans and they won't get heard in their committees. But, we've looked at the states. Florida, people want Florida all the time that have businesses in Florida. But we've just not done a lot of work there. I think we want to get the commission up and running and feeling strong and have strong states in it to start with, so that those states can already have things working before we add in states that might create a little bit of angst. And so how do we deal with those states? And I would say Utah and Florida are two of those states.
So to clarify, for the great states, some were eliminated based on not being a good fit, but then also some were not approached due to the legislative session.
Yeah, some of them we just, I only have so much time. It's me. I'm going out and testifying in all these hearings. So there's only so much time. And so some states we just, we have enough states that have asked to be part of it to keep us busy right now. And then as, we get more people at the table, then we'll start going out into some of the other states. And obviously, we want to have states that have a variety of types of boards, that kind of thing, that do things a little bit differently. Like Washington, for example, does it a little bit different than Nevada, for example. And so that gives a better conversation at the table when we're trying to write rules. We want to make sure we're including everybody in the rules and bylaws, how their states would work should they join.
I have a question based on something that you had just said as well. So you're looking for states to join the compact that do things a little bit differently. Can you help me understand that a little bit more? Because I would have assumed the opposite. I would have thought that you would want to bring in states that were doing things similarly because of this huge trust factor and, the reciprocity and working from one state to the next. Can you elaborate on that? Or maybe
sure. When I say a little bit differently, I'm not saying like it's, black and white. We're working in sort of a gray area. Everyone's somewhere in that gray area. All the states really are. There's very few states that are outside of, there's nobody that I would say is absolutely undesirable or absolutely the most desirable state. I think though that there's better conversation when you have, for example, Arizona is a universal licensing state, right? So when they sit at the table with somebody like Kentucky that is not, there's a conversation that happens about how universal licensing works and how does that change their view of compact states, right? They're already letting anyone come work in Arizona. You show up and you show them a license, go to work, right? So what's the difference if they're in the compact? It's just one less stop on the way into town, right? So I think that's what I'm saying is that when we get a broader group of people with broader applications of how they do things, how they allow people into their states, what their hours are, all of those things, we get a better outcome in terms of rules that could meet all these other gray states that we haven't even spoken to yet, if that makes sense. I mean, everybody does it fairly similarly. I mean, there's not a lot of crazy ways to apply for reciprocity. I mean, most of it's very similar.
No, it does. I'm just struggling with trying to understand why these conversations can't happen outside of a compact. Like if we had questions about how Arizona was doing their things or Kentucky, you know, we obviously could just reach out to them. Like, why do we need to compact to facilitate that conversation? It's kind of what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah,
a
you
little bit.
absolutely
Totally.
could. Yeah, you absolutely could. They just don't, I mean, they very rarely actually happen. People very rarely sit down and have these conversations about how to make things smoother between their states. And that's, I mean, I think that the benefit of the compact is for the mobility of the licensee. It is for the licensee to be able to move. A lot of licensees, I think somebody said it at the table earlier, they don't even know. I had somebody testify, she was from Texas last year, and she had moved to when we were still working in California, and she had moved to California. She didn't even know she hadn't to get a new license. She assumed it was like her driver's license. And so she got there, and then she had all these hoops she had to jump through in a state that's really a universal license. That's how they, were universal licensing, but she still had to have a letter that she had to have a certification letter from Texas that said that she had a license in good standing. She had to have something that was notarized. She had to have something that was printed off. All things that don't sound like a big deal to you and I, but if you don't have a car, or, you don't have a computer, they become bigger things. And she just didn't know. And so I think, we're trying to make it so people that need to move for whatever reason have that ability to move, and that the states that are member states feel like they are good enough in their enforcement and that they are strong enough in how they function, that nobody's going to come in and surprise them and get, they're going to still be inspecting. They're going to find people that are doing things wrong. So I just think it's a good place for, I think the commission becomes a good place for common problems between the states to have discussions, but it's not a requirement of the commission.
Thank you for going into more detail about that.
This is Janie Huggins. I just have another question or thought to bring up. So when you've been discussing some of these other issues about the states that you have that it's likely there will be a compact, and who is a good candidate or not a suitable candidate for the compact. And I think that you mentioned, all the states do things pretty similarly or have similar issues. And I would argue that Nevada has very unique issues. And domestic violence and assisting victims of domestic violence is a priority and something that we would support however we needed to. But I would argue that human trafficking is a larger issue that we deal with here in Nevada. And I can see based on your map that you've got some of the big cities where we get some of our traffic victims that are trafficked through the licensing process. And so how can you speak more to what that's going to look like in the compact, how their licensing requirements are going to impact us? They're already licensing some of these folks, and then they're being passed on to us. And then because this is such a portable license where they are it's literally existing to travel in and out of states, like that is basically facilitating individuals to be trafficked through this type of license. So how?
Actually, we met with the FBI because the FBI task force that we met with, they actually talk about compacts as being a mechanism for reducing human trafficking, because it's harder to go under the radar when everybody now can see. West Virginia is a state that really, their big thing in getting the compact is in getting the database for better surveillance of the licensees based on, it starts at the inception. This is the school they went to. This is the test they took. And if you have 10 people with the same name who went to the same school and took the same test, they get assigned a multi-state license number. So it would be it would go in your number sequence, but it would just be a multi-state license. So everybody can see where people are moving, where they've had problems. And it does make it easier than just trying to have a conversation with another state about a specific person. You would start to see trends and that's just from the FBI. That is not what it's designed to do, but that is an unintended consequence that could be very beneficial.
This is Jamie Huggins for the record. I think that this actually might be a huge obstacle for people to be identified as being trafficked through licensing. If there is an individual who is licensed in Ohio and then because they have a multi-state license, go to Alabama, they have that, did you call it like the authority to practice? So they can travel across those state lines without necessarily notifying that state, correct? Therefore, there's no record of them ever being there. Whereas now, when these individuals are encouraged and basically forced to get licenses in their states, it actually helps the state of Nevada, whether it's through the Attorney General's office, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the district attorney, or the U.S. Attorney's office. It helps identify that they were in this state and have a California state issued driver's license. They have a Florida cosmetology license, a New York cosmetology license, and then a Nevada cosmetology license. It helps them show the pattern that that individual may have been moved around, whereas this sort of eliminates that footprint that they were in the state. Right. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I think she froze. No.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Leslie, did you hear?
I did. I actually did. And I don't have an answer for, I mean, I'm not in that role. All I'm telling you is what we've been told about how the other compacts work. So I'm not in the role of enforcement. So obviously that's a position that you are in. And so it's very valid. I mean, your concerns. I'm just telling you what we have heard from how other compacts operate, the FBI's perception of how they work to actually help them. So that's just, I don't have an answer. I don't have any other answer for that.
Chair,
Yes, please.
Good morning, Leslie. This is Deputy Attorney General Joseph Studio. Because these licenses are multi-state, can you talk about any federal dollars that help law enforcement in some of the things we've discussed today?
As far as I'm aware, federal dollars don't have any, this is not a federal, in fact, this is the opposite of the federal government. This is states just making agreements amongst themselves. So as far as I'm aware, there's no federal impact on these or federal dollar impact.
So do we not see any federal task forces as far as like prostitution or human trafficking involved with these sorts of licensees?
So I do think that if you're talking about like offenders, something that maybe the FBI would uncover or some agency would uncover, that obviously is different than somebody from the federal government funding it or having any control over the federal government has no control over the commission or it has no funding responsibility. So I'm not sure that I can answer your question exactly as you want it.
Well, so my question more pertains to like, because we're dealing with multi-state licensees, typically like local law enforcement would rely on the FBI,
right?
For sorts of crimes that cross state lines. So that's kind of, I'm not talking about federal dollars necessarily like funding the compact itself, but I just wanted to see if you were aware of any,
none of that would
yeah.
change. Yeah, none of that would change. Your federal agencies that are tasked with enforcement on human trafficking and those types of things would still be operating the exact same way.
Thank you.
Ms. Rossi, you mentioned that you were the only person on the compact that was like, going full force on this, so you had all the burden of responsibility. Could you share what employer you work for?
I work for FBIC, which is the Federation, the Future of the Beauty Industry Coalition. I've said federation so many times that that's what came out. And it is a conglomeration of, it's an association of employers that have footprints in more than 2 states. So it would be things like Great Clips, Sport Clips, Ulta, JCPenney salons, people who need to move employees around fairly frequently. that, you know, if somebody wants to stay in their organization and needs to go to another state, being able to keep them in that fold, so to speak. So that's who the members are.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I have one more question for you. You mentioned that, you, had mentioned I guess 2 or 3 different times about other compacts. Did you guys use any like comparative data from existing and active compacts, such as like the nursing compact? Is there anything that you can go off of or share with us?
So sometimes the difference is that before 2020, all the compacts were healthcare related. And one thing that healthcare has that we don't have in cosmetology is that most of the healthcare disciplines have a single association that represents everybody from the schools to the licensees across the board, right? So those associations are already working in a sort of more national way to represent their the licensees that work underneath them. And healthcare is very because everybody takes the exact same exam, like every nurse takes the NCLEX. No nurse is an RN without taking the NCLEX, right? And that NCLEX is an exam that is derived out of that association. So some of it doesn't match up very well because when you get to cosmetology, you have high school programs, apprenticeships, accredited schools, non-accredited schools. You have this varying all across the country way people become a cosmetologist, but also you don't have as much as PBA would like to be, I think, the representative association for all of cosmetology, it has just never been able to really do that for the licensees. So it's not actually apples to apples when you talk healthcare to these other occupations. Now, we are talking more with some of the other occupations that are going through the same process we are. But again, a lot of them are still heavily healthcare.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And just to reiterate, I know I might be beating a dead horse here, but for the member states of the compact, it doesn't actually start till 2026. So is it safe to say that there have been 0 compact licenses issued at this time?
Yeah, because they haven't met yet. They have to meet and define the database, and they need to define the rules. You know, you can't be issuing licenses. And part of the reason we did meet in October just to seat the initial 8 people, initial 8 commissioners, and go over the law with them. We waited till after this session, so there would be more people at the table. We'd have more voices at the table. You know, if you only have 8 people and you're electing executive officers, you're not, everybody's got a job, right? There's no picking who's best for the job. Everybody gets one. And so that's why the second commission meeting will be in late July. And that's where they'll determine the database criteria and the rules and the bylaws. And those the database criteria is what's essential to actually issuing the license, because everybody's going to be looking at the same database. So these people have to agree on, what do we need in here? How much information do we need in this database? So that there cannot be any licenses issued until that's done.
Sure, thank you. I have 2 more questions. Can you, I know probably not, but to the best of your ability, and kind of how you would maybe generally guide the compact, but how would you address and recognize the hour and licensing fraud? Would it be something similar to how we have on our website, and like in that order, or would it be something that the compact would have like its own website, or like how is this going to facilitate the states as like the benefit?
Oh, yeah, I think that the states will obviously have education about the multi-state license process on their website. There's no question that that needs to happen. Like, what does this mean if you get a multi-state license? I think there will also I know there will also be a compact website where people who are thinking about getting a multi-state license or thinking of moving to a compact state would go and get information. Right now, that's really what I'm spending a lot of my time doing outside of legislative work, is going out and educating people on what does it mean? What does it mean to have a multi-state license? What can you do? What can you not do? So, yeah.
Thank you. I know we spoke a lot about the benefits. I just want to go over the state responsibilities, if I could, just to have a really good, clear understanding of what that would look like. So you had mentioned that once a month we would send executive director to the compact to have the meeting and kind of collaborate and go over whatever they're going to do during that meeting, right? And then we would also need to implement a new licensure, the compact licensure, a new fee structure. And then I'm assuming we would have to figure out some new way of, locating these individuals and like implementing some process of tracking them, which is going to take time and money as well, right? Is there any other responsibilities that I'm leaving off or maybe forgetting that would come up?
Just the only other thing I can think of is the integration of the database, but we're using the Department of Defense database that they, it's an open source database for compacts. So every state is already using some version of this database. So that it's already IT tested, if you will, because every state that has a different set of IT parameters, it's already in every state. So that makes it easier.
Okay. And then I am going to direct this question towards staff and board members, because I think I've asked you a couple times now. To me, and this is my opinion, I want to state that for the record, board member Brent, mobility seems to be the only benefit that we're looking for here. However, I will counter that before I ask your input. Our hours would facilitate that, and the expedited response of board staff, because I've done it several times to switch my license over, and I have the information next day. Of course, you can't compare what the state that you're going to is going to do on their end of things, but how we do things here is extremely expedited. Am I missing another benefit? Is there anything else that you guys have come up with, or board staff that you could see? Just so that we can clearly have all the cards on the table here. Okay.
Board member Moreno, I just maybe speak on what we, yeah. Yep, it's on. Board member Moreno, yeah. My concern is that when this bill was first addressed to us, it was just for military families, and now it's going to be more of a wide spectrum.
Only Cosmo though, not
right.
Yeah.
Cosmo. But when we started again, when it was in the district, we agreed that for military families, we're on board with that. Correct? Or am I mistaken? And now that it's going full force for anybody, Ms. Leslie, when was this changed? And now it's open for any.
It's always been open for everybody. There may have been a misinterpretation because the Department of Defense funded the creation of these compacts for the benefit of military spouses, but it's always been, it would be way too hard to figure out that. That would create a whole nother class of people that would be, you guys would be keeping track of. So it's always been all licensees under that license. There's never been a time from our standpoint that it's ever been exclusive to the military.
Janie Huggins for the record. I have a question. You've mentioned a couple of times that the data integration. Are you implying that our licensing system will need to integrate with the Compact's licensing system?
So the compact doesn't license people, but your licensing information on multi-state licensees in your state would have to be integrated so other people can see, other states can see your licensees just like you can see theirs. If there's no integration, the database would be useless. You wouldn't be able to see anybody else's states and they wouldn't be able to see yours. So for your multi-state licensees, things like, or if you were to go out and have an inspect and find somebody from another state, you have to be able to go into your database and find their record and say they're a problem, and red flag them for everybody else.
Just operationally speaking, so other states would need to be able to tap into our data through our licensing management system.
You would be separate data. It's a separate database. They're not integrating into your database. It's a separate database. And I believe most compacts upload information on new licensees once a week or once a month. It's a super simple process. They hit a button and it just goes into the system of multi-state licensees. They can only see multi-state licensees, and that's all you can see either from the other states.
Okay, so I think I was just maybe getting lost in the integration. So it's not an automatic process where it would literally integrate through a software program, we would be manually entering in data into the compact
So
licensing.
the way it would work is when somebody applies for a multi-state license in Nevada, that data would segregate off to the side. It would go into your database, but it also would segregate off to the side. And once a week, you'd push a button or 10 or I don't know how many, and it would upload all that information into this separate database. But that's also the database where you could see other states' multi-state licensees.
Okay, so if a state had a magical licensing system that was able to literally integrate into this database, then they could quote push a button. But for pre-existing legacy systems, we would essentially be just somehow you have to get it into your system, correct? Whether it's manual or some states can integrate.
That's correct, but we're starting from scratch. So every single multi-state licensee would be, you wouldn't be having to back do anything. Everybody would be a new applicant for that license. So moving forward, but yes, there is some integration. Yeah.
Stephen Tom for the record. Ms. Rossi, where is this, I guess, the commission going to be incorporated? Just basically, where is it going to be housed?
The database?
Yes.
So I'm not an IT person, and I've only seen how they do it for other compacts, not specifically for this compact. And again, that's a decision that will be made by the commissioners. But as I've seen it previously, there would be a program on your computers in your office of the national database. And it would be it's a simple database in terms of what the fields are in there, what you can see, what you can look at, what reports you can run. And you would be uploading information into that on whatever regular basis the commission decides, once a week, once a month, whatever that decision is, as would all the other states.
And where is I guess the commission itself, the entity, the compact entity going to exist? Is it Virginia? Is it, where is it going to be incorporated?
No. So the compact commission will be housed in it becomes its own entity, but it needs to have a secretariat organization where it can get mail and, get a bank account and hire, eventually down the road an executive director. It will be partitioned off at PBA. So it doesn't get incorporated anywhere. It's just housed with the PBA. That's the association where the mail would go, that kind of thing. Because remember, it's being run by commissioners from all around the country. So it doesn't necessarily have a brick and mortar. It has an address, but not necessarily a brick and mortar. So Arizona, if that was, if you want an answer, Arizona.
In Arizona, that's where this the professional.
They go to Arizona?
Yeah.
Then the meetings, like for example, this second meeting, this summer is in Minneapolis. So the commission meetings would be set up at a hotel in Minneapolis. So it's not like it's any one set place.
Question, Madam Chair. Ms. Rossi, who's the interim, or who do you perceive to be the interim chair of the Cosmetology Compact?
So the chair of the commission will be voted on in July. The interim executive director will likely be somebody from the Council of State Governments, from their Center of Compact Excellence, somebody who's done this before. It just helps new compacts sort of get their feet underneath them. It's a lot. The commission's trying to, figure out these rules, that rules, and then to throw in somebody who's new at that executive director position. So it would likely be somebody from the Council of State Governments. And the Council of State Governments, if you aren't aware, they serve every state and all branches of the government. So they're very non-denominational, if you will, and they just would come in and act as the executive director until one is hired.
Board Member O'Brien. Again, my question is directly towards board staff. Hypothetically, if something like this were to be passed and go forward with, what would that look like expense-wise for the board? Would we have to hire on a new team member? What would the cost approximately be regarding that?
Ms. Madam Chair, Simi Don for the record. We did issue our fiscal note, and I did, let the legislature, know that we would have to hire a position, dedicated to doing commission work. My staff right now is dedicated to doing state of Nevada work. So yeah, and then of course, getting the equipment and the $110,000, that's the initial cost. Don't know what the commission cost is going to be. It's just one of those lawyer things I like to be. Sure Ms. Ross can appreciate that. So, that was in the details and how you write it. So our fiscal note looked like we would be losing about, 500,000 over the biennium because there's no revenues that have been identified to pay for that body. So, and all of the other things that we normally would get from reciprocity licensing fees. If you figure that a person wouldn't need to get reciprocity from us, they get the compact license. Therefore, those license fees would not come to the city of Nevada. At least that's what we understand. And then we would have to get the legislature to give us the authority to charge for that, as we said earlier. We would have to wait for that to actually occur for us to charge for it. So right now, based upon us not having that authority, we have to eat it as part of the state of Nevada licensing fees from current state licenses. So that was the fiscal note that I did supply because there is no authority for the charge to offset the cost for it.
Thank you. It's my understanding that at this time, there's just a lot of trust and unknowns about what is to come with this compact. That's how I'm feeling. Board members, do we have similar feelings, different feelings? Again, I feel like our board, our state, just like Ms. Huggins said, has very unique issues and experiences here. I feel like in addition to all of that, we do a very good job of allowing the individuals who come here to work to be able to, and a very good job of making sure that the individuals who are taught here get the education that they deserve. You heard it today with us battling, not battling, but stating our stance on, the previous Assembly Bill 225. You heard from schools that came out in support of that. Well, one of the things that also positions Nevada in a unique place is the fact that we have good education here. We have high numbers. Our board staff does their job expeditiously to get licensees, the details that they need to apply for reciprocity in other states. It's the one benefit that I came up with was mobility, but I don't see it being an issue here. And I'm just, that's a personal statement. I can't blanket that, of course. And, obviously we want to provide everything that we can for our licensees, but as Executive McDonald said, a lot of our reciprocity goes to California. So California's not a part of the contract. I'm torn here. I love the presentation. It was great to have it because it did answer a lot of my questions and it piqued a lot more for me. How are we feeling on this? Do we have more questions for Ms. Roxy? Do we have more questions for board staff? Do we want to spitball something? How are we doing?
I think what I'm looking at is like, how many people are trying to do this at the home? Or heard of, do this presentation to us. It seems like it's very important to her. And I'm just trying to understand it. Is it like millions? Because I know there's millions of cosmetologists.
Like, are you asking like how big of an issue is this on a licensee level for this compact?
Yeah, for her to present it, because it seems like she's trying to present it like there's a whole bunch of people that's trying to sign up for this program or this compact.
I think earlier she had stated that it was for, like the companies that were backing it were like, this cost cutters or like Great Clips and
Yeah,
stuff, because
right.
they moved their
Yeah.
employees state
Yeah,
to
yeah.
state. But I remind you, once again, moving them out of, or even into here is not an issue because our reciprocity is under 2 days.
Yeah.
So it would really just be moving out of there. And again, our board staff expeditiously work to supervise documents to give to other boards. We do a great job already about communicating with other states about fraudulent hours at school
You're
and
right.
things like that. So, I mean, even sitting down for the monthly meeting seems like a wasted expense and our executive director's time.
Yes.
I'm not sure that I'm seeing a great benefit. I didn't mean to take over your question. Oh, I'm sorry. Let's go back to your question.
No, member, Douglas, I believe that, Ms. Ross had a response.
Oh, yes.
Here. Leslie, you want to go ahead and respond?
Oh, yeah, I understood what you were asking, how many people, and I don't have a way to give you a number. I just don't, because we don't do it yet. So, it's brand new, so we don't really know. We do know anecdotally in the nursing compact. Some states have as many as 50% of the nurses have multi-state licenses, and some states as low as 25%. So it's just, I think it's a state by state thing. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I kind of laugh at it. It's called the stickiness map of how many people stay in the state they were born in, right? Or the state they were raised in. And so I think in really sticky states, you probably don't have as many people using it. And in states where people are more mobile, particularly when you get in the Northeast, where there's a bunch of little tiny states together, you're going to see higher numbers. So I don't know that I can't give you a number.
Just want to clarify, Nevada would be a network state very known for trying to come here, bigger money to get out. Why their board does such a great job of having such expertise at getting our licensees what they need, and reciprocity given to those that are looking to join our state and work here, with our other licensees. So I love that anecdote though, sticky, not sticky. I'm actually picturing some states right now, like that are super sticky.
Yeah, that are really clustered,
Yeah.
So definitely that's the understand why a compact works. It's just so close. You can drive a couple miles, you're in the state, in those areas of the United States. Here we're, a large, geographical state. We're big with a small population, like Wyoming and those other states that are just a lot, where the federal government owns a lot of land, right? But small population centers. So, but also, from a staff standpoint, definitely, if the legislature passes this compact, we will implement it, we will execute it as we're supposed to. The law is made, governor signs it, and our job is to execute it. So we'll do the best to our abilities to work with the fellow member states that become members, that are members, or become members of the compact. We do so here. We work closely with them. So it's not put on the record as well. I'm sure.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Board member Douglas again, just seems like everybody's trying to go through the back door to, get this license or these licenses that, that took, I did 2 years. I was for 2 years, so I feel they should go too. I mean, why do they get a break? They didn't give me a break. I don't know how many people got a break, trying to go to school.
I would defer, I think don't worry, I would defer Ms. Ross to address that and see if she can address that question. Like we spent 2 years when we were really just going to school and why these other folks get a break.
I'm not sure I heard the question exactly. Something about a break?
This is board member Douglas. I was thinking that it seems like, not the way you're addressing it, but it's like you're trying to tell us, hey, let's give these people a break, let them go through the back door, when majority of the people that when they got their license, like me, I went for 2 years part-time, and I feel I didn't get a break to do that. So why should the new people now get a break? I'm trying to understand that part.
Yeah, I think that's up to everybody's individual sort of interpretation of, I come from medicine. I'm a nurse, and I worked with lots of doctors who would say, oh, the older doctors would say I had to work 72 hours straight in the emergency room, and you should too, to the young doctors. But we knew there were more mistakes being, and there's just, times change. I don't, and I don't know that it's, there's a standard answer for that. I don't feel like it's trying to give anyone a break. They had to get licensed in their own state. So I don't know that it's trying to give anybody a break, but I've never actually thought about it the way you're talking, the way what you're asking me. I've never really thought about that. And I don't know that I have a good answer. I'm sorry.
Board Member O'Brien, so I already, looked up all the hours for the member states. They're all at 1,500. So the break wouldn't be that much, and that's more so on the lines of reciprocity. It wouldn't be unlicensed individuals, if that helps also from that standpoint, but I get what you're saying as well. The member states currently do have similar hours. In addition to the 4 that I have noted from the map that were pending, North Carolina is the lowest. It has 1,200, but West Virginia has 1,800. I don't know what about that, but so it is very similar, minus that one state towards us at 1,600. So
actually, Nebraska and Hawaii also have 1,800, and they're both have pending legislation.
when I did that, Nebraska is pending now.
Yes, and Hawaii just got out of the Senate. It's moving to the House.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
How about from our board members that are on Zoom, any questions or anything? I don't want to exclude you from the discussion.
Not a board member, but will the questions be opened up to the public as well soon?
Of the chair, if you want to comment on the public.
Board members, how do you feel about that? I think that's okay. Limit comments to 3 minutes or less. Let's also please raise our hand if you're on Zoom, and we'll have a moment at the end of public comment for those participants on the phone to unmute themselves as well. Trisha Faust, you have your hand up, so if you can unmute yourself, we'll go ahead and have you go first.
Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. My question is, Leslie, you stated that when a partitioner would come here, they don't have to notify the state board that they are here. They can just come here and work. But if something were to happen, how do we know where they were, what they were working? They could say they weren't here. How do we know that they're there? And if something happens to our client, or let's say I myself decided to go and have a spa day somewhere and I got an infection, how is that person going to be held accountable across the board? Here currently in Nevada, even when I go to, let's say I'm donating for the day, so I'm doing free haircuts or I'm doing free facials for somebody, I have to pay $100 in advance for a 24-hour licensee from the state board in order to practice in my own state. So I feel kind of it's diminishing our license in a way in the state that we work. That number one, a lot of us estheticians, especially the girls out of school, they're hurting. They cannot find work. So number one, that's pulling money and jobs away from the people who are already here by allowing people just to come in who are not actually licensed here in this state. And two, we have the Nevada State Board regulating for a reason and a purpose, and I feel like that's going to drop the ball, because what if something happens? Who's going to be held accountable? How does that work as far as to contact those people going forward?
So a couple things I would just say. I won't be able to answer all of your questions because I don't have a crystal ball totally on any of this, but on the first one about it bringing too many people into the state, these people are going to come anyway. This isn't making it like they're not saying, oh, I wanted to go to Nevada, but now I'm not going to. It's just they're going to come anyway. And my understanding is that the process in your state is very fast anyway. So the number of people that come into your state and are licensed that they're competing with, that's not going to change. It's still going to be, no one's going to move just because they can, because they have the compact, number one. As far as where are they, presumably, we already said that if you are required to tell the board where you're at, they would also be required to tell the board where they're at. That would be a requirement of working in the state. That doesn't change. But also if they're working for an employer and, or if they're working in a place where they are a booth renter, I mean, it's the same, it's no different from somebody who's licensed in Nevada could go and do something in a booth renter place and then just disappear, right? I mean, I think the thing we have to get away from is thinking that everyone coming into your state has some nefarious intention, right? They may just
No,
as
we're
much
not saying that. We're not
yeah,
saying that. With all due respect, it's the safety concern and the
right.
fact that we do, as in the state of Nevada, if we have our booth rental, we have to have a business license. We have to have our cosmetology or our aesthetic. We have to have multiple license, including insurance, a business license, tax ID. These people are coming in with nothing.
It would,
So
all of those things would apply to them. If an inspector showed up at a booth renter place and someone said, oh, I'm here from Ohio on a multi-state license, I don't need any of that stuff, the inspector would say you absolutely do. So now you're getting fined for this and this and this. They have to operate under the exact same rules that you have to operate under, that nothing
right.
changes.
Right. And every state has different rules and regulations. That's why it's so imperative, like each state that we go to and each state that we're licensed in. So I have Wisconsin, Minnesota, California, Nevada. They're all different. So that's part of
I
us
understand that.
paying for the education and
I
okay.
get what you're saying. And also the place that makes where the rubber meets the road is health and public safety. Am I going to harm a consumer? And I will tell you, every single state takes the same exams, and those exams are focused on health and public safety. I mean, they don't all take the same test, but they take NIC or they take PSI, or they might create their own, but they are all based on health and public safety. So I don't think any state is legally licensing anyone who's unsafe. Where we run into problems is fraudulent licenses, but this isn't going to make it any more friendly for someone carrying a fraudulent license is just going to keep doing what they're doing, right? Because that's what they do. So I think we have to, everybody does it. Every state thinks they do it, and no offense here, better than everyone else. And I go to all these other states, and with few exceptions, most states really license with a huge cognizance of their responsibility and to health and public safety of their own constituents. So I think that even though things might be a little bit different when it comes to health and public safety, virtually all the states are the same in terms of what they teach and quite frankly in their rules. I have a spreadsheet that would probably fill up a wall of a room of all the infection control rules in every single state. And there's more similarity than dissimilarity in that. So I don't think it's as big of a, valley between, Nevada and other states as it might seem. I don't think it's that big of a gap, but I totally respect what you said too.
Thank you so much, Tricia, for your question.
Thank you.
Board Member Bryant, I have a follow-up to what was just stated and discussed. I think I still have some fogginess on what is the action that's going to happen when they come here. Are they going to be required to report to state board? And like that, the issue is not necessarily that they were taught how to do things. I think everyone was taught how to do it correctly, but that we know based on all of our board meetings that we've been at and all of the citations that doesn't happen. And so that's the issue, is just knowing where these individuals are at and operating at, and making sure that they're in compliance. I mean, I think it was January's meeting, maybe we've had so many meetings, but there was a gal that was licensed in a different state, not a compact state, of course, but another state, and she was down here doing services and was super adamant that she could have the licensure and everything. And I mean, to the point of telling us that we were like invading her privacy and like doing a whole bunch of like things, but we were like, man, you are out of compliance. Right. So it does have a trickle down effect. It to say that everybody is taught infectious disease and control, absolutely, and thankfully so, but that they follow it or that they know what our state's regulations are without actually having to take a law test or go through our education system or what we require them to do for reciprocity, it gets a little bit more, it adds to that unknown box. And again, it's kind of filling up quicker for me than the benefit box, unfortunately. So I want to just say thank you to Tricia for, pointing out that because it did spark another question. I just really don't know how we're going to know that they're here.
Because to me, it sounds like, and I know she said she's a nurse. Yeah, it reminds me of like traveling nurses. Oh, so this is board member Douglas. It reminds me, like I said, she said she was a nurse. It reminds me of like traveling nurses.
Yeah.
When they go to state to state.
That's a good analogy. That's very similar. And I think, the track record of how traveling nurses have performed and, there's the same number of problems in every state, and not same number of problems, the same types of problems occur in every state, right? So even a really state with a lot of great nurses and great nursing schools, there's going to be a few people that maybe aren't, they aren't exactly the people we'd put up on a pedestal. And those may be the people that decide to go work as a traveling nurse. That could happen. Every state has that, right? And so part of what the commission hopes to do is to determine if there are people like that they don't get that privilege anymore, that privilege gets taken away. And if you currently know where all your licensees are today, if I went into your records and you could tell me where every single cosmetology licensee was working today, you'll still know that because that will be part of the rule. They've got to tell you when they come, where are they working? If you don't know where they're working, if there's some percentage of your cosmetologists that you don't even have any idea where they're working, it'll probably be the same percentage of those people. You see what I'm saying? I think states are more alike than they are different in regards to this. And nursing is a good example.
Yeah, for sure. It's just a matter of if we want to take on those other states' issues, by joining the compact. Ms. Huggins, did you have a question?
Yes, this is Jane Higgins for the record. So I understand that if they're required to comply with our laws, then they're required to comply with our laws. But if Nevada is only going to be putting compact licensee data into this database, where will that information be stored? If they're not in our system where we update work locations, where will it be stored?
No, you'll have every licensee will be in your database. The thing is, we don't want to put your database at risk. We don't want to, don't want to be able to see records of people that don't have multi-state licenses. Do you see what I'm saying? We don't want to put your database. So everything will go in your database, but those people that have that multi-state privilege, those will be, also, and so not as an exception, they will also be in the national database. They will be in both places, if that makes sense.
So this is Jane Higgins for the record. So part of the monitoring of the database will include not only putting data in, but pulling data out. So we will say a licensee from Arizona that their compact multi-state license was just issued yesterday. It needs to go in our system. So should they practice in cosmetology? Go ahead and answer your question because you shook your head. So I'm assuming.
No, go ahead. Keep going. I think I told you I've been really sick. So I'm trying to turn my head so I can hear the best, but go ahead.
So it's a newly issued multi-state license. We will be pulling data out of the compact database to put into our system. So those licensees, should they practice here, we have a place to house things like work locations or violations.
So the only time you would know they're there is if there is an infraction, right? So if an inspector goes out, or if they come to you and they say, I'm here from Arizona and the rule is I have to tell you where I'm working, they would already, then yes, but it'd be a simple crossover because you're crossing over the other way. So it's a simple crossover. Oh, here's Arizona, Susan Smith. We're going to pull her over and okay, where do you work? Where are you working? Or whatever the thing is you say to them, where are you working today? Or whatever that is. However you guys keep track of them.
So that opens up the door for another question then. So if an inspector is in the field doing an inspection and they come across a license and they're not familiar with it and they assume it's an out-of-state license, are they going to have, how many people have access to the database where they're juggling two licensing systems at once?
No, they'll be able to see that somebody has a multi-state license. They'll be able to verify that it's a multi-state license, even if they have like the little handheld computery things that they take out with them. We went through all of this in the conversations about how to design this. So it will mirror lots of other occupations, how they already do that.
And so if we aren't, so if we are able to discipline them as our own licensees, we would have to pull them into our database to discipline them, or are we, do you understand? Like, I'm confused if the two systems aren't speaking to each other and they're separate from one another.
They
how
do speak to each other in regard to multi-state licensees. That's the only crossover they have. So in regard to multi-state licensees. So let's turn the question around. And if it was a Nevada licensee on a multi-state license, that's how you would get notified that they had done something in Colorado, for example. They had gotten in some trouble in Colorado. That's how you would get that flag. So as far as multi-state licensees, that part, those speak to each other. If that makes sense. I'm not an IT person, so I'm not sure the best way to explain it to you. I've actually seen it in action, and certainly we could get you guys a demo of it, how it works.
But they would integrate with each other digitally. So like they would communicate the two systems. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Madam Chair, just a quick question to you off the record. Leslie, thank you so much for giving me more clarity on the questions. It's I guess alluding to Jane, she's our chief compliance officer, so apologize, she's going to catch a lot of questions because she's over that department for me. Is that so we would be chasing down the location of where this person is that comes to our state. We use Arizona since they're part of the compact, the compact license. They come to our state. We won't know, not unless of course something happens, or if and of course we get a complaint afterward from a customer, or we get a complaint from a licensee here that says this person's operating outside the scope of their license. It isn't just fraud we deal with. There are people that operate outside the scope of the license as well. As an example, estheticians, someone's doing advanced esthetician work, they're operating outside the scope of their license. A cosmetologist is not advanced as esthetician, so maybe these are outside the scope of the license. So we would be the tail behind the dog, because we would be trying to track down this person where they're located at. They're at this salon, and nicely, hopefully, let us know. And then since they're a mobile license, they can go to another salon the next day. Then they go to another salon the very next day. So we really don't know. That's what I mean. It's not answer questions of how, as a regulator, we would be regulating this, because we have to be trying to track this person down. And their home state is not Nevada. Their home state is Arizona. And we're here trying to track them down. They had a bad inspection where we found them, blah, blah, blah. Get cited, okay, citation. Then, or actually compliance warning, depending on what it is. Then they relocate to another salon across town, and now they're working there the next day. So my inspectors, working for Jane as compliance officer, are now trying to track down this person. And I think that's what the unknown is for us as regulators, is how we're going to regulate when you have a person come in. And we're not saying it can't be done. I said we're going to do it as best we can, as well as we can. I don't have 2,000 inspectors. I always say that at meeting. But the question is, of the inspectors I do have, and the inspections that we're doing now, how am I going to, this is an added layer point. How are we going to be tracking down this person? And maybe Ms. Rossi can answer that. Once the person relocates between salons in a matter of days or a matter of hours.
Okay. I think I understood the question. And what I would say is I don't know that I have all the answers. Because you certainly have a process already that is in place. As I understand it, people have to tell you where they're working at any given moment. And I'm guessing there's some Nevada licensees that don't do that. So it may mirror exactly what happens with people that are licensed in Nevada that work one place and then go somewhere else and kind of create a little bit of havoc. I mean, I think there's probably a process that you have for those people, and it would probably end up being the same process. I don't know that I have a better answer for that. I mean, I think you're talking about a small percentage of the people that would come into your state, a very, very small percentage of the people. So I think that finding a process might not be as difficult as it seems, but I don't have an answer for how that process would work for you. I wish I did.
Okay, at this time, we're gonna take a small, 5-minute bathroom break. We have a bathroom request. So the time is 12:03. Miss Graham, I do see your hand up, so, we will start with you when we get back. So if we can just excuse the board for 5 minutes, we'll come back at 12:10. Forgot that time's wrong. Okay, thank you.
All right, welcome back to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. The time is 12:10. The date is March 24th, 2025. We're gonna resume with just wanted to say this. Action item 5, review the cosmetology licensure compact. And we do have a member of the public with their hand up, Ms. Brandon. Would you unmute yourself and you can go forward with your 3 minutes?
Hi, Gwen Bramo. For the record, I just had a couple of questions and concerns about the compact. I am definitely a person that believe everybody has the right to work. And but what I do want to be clear and understand, the way that bill AB 371 is written, I don't believe it has anything in there where it has a expiration time where the compact licensure can work in our state. And I don't believe that it has anything in that bill where they have to report to the State Board of Cosmetology where they're working.
You're right. Want me to answer?
Yes, please.
Okay. And just as a heads up, I'm giving testimony at the half hour. I didn't realize this was going to go this long, so I'm going to have to be off at the bottom of the hour if that works for everybody. I apologize. I agreed to give testimony somewhere else, but as far as an expiration date, are you saying how long the compact would stay in place once it was enacted?
Yes, Miss Leslie, when you were speaking, you were talking about that, just like a driver's license, if you were going into a state and you could only work for a specific period of time.
Yes.
But there's no expiration of time. So if I'm at a compact licensure state, I'm just going to say in Virginia, and I come to Nevada to work, I can come back and forth to Nevada to work for months and months.
So that would be addressed in rules. So that would be not in the law, but in the rules that the commission creates. So that's one of the reasons I think, like I tell states, if you think you'll ever be in the compact, it's a good reason to be on the initial commission, because that's where the rules are written around the compact, around that. And what was your other question? I'm sorry.
And the other question was also for them going to the board to report to where they're working. I mean, because if you're working side by side as a ex-salon owner, and I had a person that comes in that's a compact licensure, and they were fined for something because they didn't have to take a law exam. They don't really understand the procedures and tools and instruments that our state ban, that they state may approve. How does that even work? I mean, is that like we need extra inspectors out in the field? How do they find them when they won't be able to stop them from working because we didn't license them initially?
Right. So they are responsible to know the scope and the rules of your state when they go work in a different state. That's their responsibility. There's a bunch of other things you can think about when you go to another state where it's your responsibility to know that answer right before you go to that state. And there will be plenty of resources for them to determine what is and isn't allowed in your state if they come there to work. And I think we already agreed that you guys it sounds like you already have a mechanism for saying where you're working, telling the board where you're working, and that would be a requirement if they're working in your state to go and do whatever that process is.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Glenn, for your question. At this time, do we have any other questions for Josh? Zoom or in person for our board members?
Chair Stephen Fallon for the record. I want to say thank you, Leslie, for attending. We appreciate it, allowing the staff, the board members, and the public to ask you some questions as to how the compact would work and how it could be executed and how it impacts Nevada agencies. So I want to first say thank you very much for coming. Again, just for the record, Madam Chair, board members, we will pass, we will implement and execute whatever the legislature passes that starts the law, that's our mandate to do. You have, of course, 4 options here. You can vote to support the compact bill. You have to oppose it. You can be neutral, or you can not act at all. So it's essentially kind of neutral. But you have those 4 options. And again, thank you, Ms. Rossi, for coming for the board.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Oh.
Just, so Dag just was here for the record. If the board were to take a neutral stance on this, they would have to re-vote, right? Because they voted to oppose it. Is that my understanding?
No, the new vote would supersede the last vote. So they voted to oppose it in board meeting, a couple of board meetings ago. If this vote happens, they would be, this new vote would supersede the last vote.
Okay, but just for the record, if they decide to take a neutral stance, they need to vote on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, board members, are we ready for a vote? Do you have any more questions or concerns? Any of our board members online have any questions, or are we ready for a vote?
No, I'm ready to vote.
All right, let's go
Yeah, I'm
ahead.
ready to
and-
vote. Thank you.
Okay, let's go ahead and make a motion, please. I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess we need to discuss how we're voting. Yes. Right. How was the vote?
I oppose it.
Online.
I oppose it as well.
Okay, so then I make a motion to oppose Assembly Bill 371. Can I get a second?
This board member Douglas, I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carries. All right, I want to thank everyone for their questions and thoughts on that agenda item. We're going to move forward to agenda item 6, comments from the general public for discussion only. The board will entertain comments from the general public for any item that is related to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. Members of the public can call into the meeting to make public comments by dialing 1-720-707-2699 and entering 821-4652-7127 for the meeting ID. Comments are limited to 3 minutes or less, and no discussion or action can be taken during public comment. Do we have any public comment at this time? If there's no public comment at this time, we'll go forward with agenda item 7, which is comments from the board members for discussion only. The board will entertain comments from board members for any item that is or is not on the published agenda and is related to the Nevada State Board of Cosmetology. No action can be taken on a matter unless it is included in an agenda. Comment should be limited to 3 minutes or less. Do we have any public comment from our board members? No? All right. All right, well, then-
Once.
I'm sorry?
Oh, no, no. I was saying going once, going twice.
Exactly. All right, well then at this time, I'm gonna call for adjournment. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you to Ms. Rossi for the presentation, and I hope everyone has a good week. The time
Thank you.
is-
Have a good day.
Yes, the
Thank
time
you.
is 12:19.
12:19. Great. Bye.
Bye.